Mental health and wellness is so important in the world of gaming.
Going to a mental health professional when you're feeling not your best, I can't think of anything better to do.
It is okay to seek for help. You're not weak because you go see a therapist.
Que no pasa nada por pedir ayuda y que los profesionales para algo están.
I promote.
Yo promuevo.
I promote and practice positive mental health.
and beautiful.
So wild, I can never be tamed. Fuck around, cause I'm breaking the chain. Breaking the chain.
for the last time in our regular Split 1 play, I get to welcome you to the Apex Legends Global Series Pro League. And alongside me in this drop ship for all the action and the drama, Onset, Gaskin, 2 guys, so excited. Gaskin, who has got your heart today? How hyped are you? I'm going to stop talking right now.
Well, there's like 8 questions that came at me at once. I don't really know how to answer them. Who's got my heart today? Sentinels, I think, is my first choice. That's what my heart is. How hyped am I? Probably too hyped because I'm talking really fast, so I'll slow it down. But yeah, I'm very excited for today. I think we've got some fantastic Apex on our way. A lot of teams that are going to be kind of heavy hitting to try and get to those big top prize money positions, but also those who are playing for those playoff spots as well, Kate.
Oh man, it's complexity. It's a cake layer of complexity Onset in terms of storylines and motivations for these squads.
Oh, it certainly is. And of course, complexity are going to be one of those teams who we're going to be talking about as well. But you're quite right. You've got to remember we have 2 lobbies running alongside each other as well. So there's going to be a multitude of stories being intertwined. Who's going to be the champions of the split? Who is going to make it into the top 20? Who's going to fall out of the top 20? And who's going to be in relegation? All of these things have to be sorted out over the next 6 games or so. And as you can tell, I've got a big smile on my face because I'm so excited to get into these games today.
Absolutely. Well, that is the future. We're going to have to take a look at the past. The last time we saw some of these NA teams in the lobby, well, a lot of drama unfolded. Let's take a look at what happened.
With the Kraber in hand, this might be 100 Thieves' game.
People flying across on their knees, and that is massive damage with the Kraber.
Still a
On the backside, on the backside.
I'm dropping on,
on
shiny,
you, shiny.
on shiny.
Yep, I'm on shiny. I have shield up, shield up, shield up. My shield's up.
The rest of the team is there. Bubble on top of Bubble means they are just going to continue to bait and switch throughout all of this. And it looks like they are going face to face and toe to toe. Bad game number 1 and say, you know what? We are here to play, ladies and gentlemen. Look at Gentrifying. Look at the rest of the squad. Just flying in, Mark. No chance for Protectful.
There's no armor on anyone whatsoever. Still looking for that KP, and maybe there's an armor swap to find now. They're still behind the rocks, still hiding in plain sight as everybody's playing Edge.
absolutely crushing people. They're making PK shots, they're making the rotations here. It's down to the last 2 squads. G2 is looking very healthy, and they're able to wrap up game number 3.
Looks like they're getting coal for Christmas as Complexity just gets dropped. Hakulo trying to take over towards the sky. This is basically going to be a one-man Hakulo show, and I just don't think he's going to be able to do it. I don't think that Scissors has it in the cards as well, but you never know with that. Ooh, it was so close, but Torrent is going to take game number 4.
SXG are looking in a much better position now. They've got more legs on deck now as the troops are coming through.
They're going to try to clear this first one out that's on the same low ground situation and then move on from there. And right now it's like shooting fish in a barrel.
OXG coming in now. They're looking for the kill, but Seinfeld and Resulta trying to get a batch up. The massive from Jen creating space for his team, but can they capitalize on this? The wingman going absolutely nuclear, and G2 will get a 3rd game.
Team Force down from low ground. SSG are going to try and light them up. The bubble is there, but Scissors has got to make a difficult cross to that bubble to survive. Drop managed to pick up one, and Frex will pick up another one as well. The bubble comes in once more. The caustic gas just holding off both these teams as they just stare into the whites of each other's eyes until, of course, they will clean things up, SSG.
And now we have a one-on-one. Protectful looking for an armor swap. Looks like he can't find it. He has one more massive shot to hit. Can he do it? It looked like a trade. Are you kidding me?
G2. Actually, G3 perhaps is what we should call them there, Gaskin. That was out of control and certainly not something we're used to seeing every day.
No, it's the first time actually historically throughout the ALGS Pro League we've seen anyone get 3 wins out of the 6. And even though it's not the highest points total we've seen, that's very important going into playoffs and match point format coming into the equation. So certainly an amazing demonstration of G2 about how winning they can be when it comes to all these 6 games that we were having in front of us. But those are the overall standings at the moment then for North America. I think we touched upon them during the EMEA broadcast, but Esports Arena are 1 point ahead of both Sentinels and NRG. It's really tight at the top, but of course, equally, it's pretty tight at the bottom as well.
That's a great way to segue into my next question, which you can see there are 2 pages to this NA regular season standings graphic. And Onset, this second page is really where the motivation comes in for these teams to make it to playoffs.
Yeah, looking at the other side, 100 Thieves and Furia both had really big days yesterday, which put them into the top 20. But of course, when you're in the top 20, teams are going to fall out as well. So SXG, I've got my eye on for sure. They've got to have a big day. They've been slaying out in some games. It's just the inconsistency that's hurting them a little bit at the moment. Then you've got the likes of Ghost Gaming trying to do what they can. Legacy MX trying to survive just above that relegation zone. And that's, like I said, there's so many stories intertwined here. Who's going to not finish in the red? Who's going to finish in the red? Who's going to finish in the green and go on to playoffs? We'll find out over the next 6 games or so. But it's certainly set up to be an amazing day of ALGS action.
Absolutely. And if there's one thing our EMEA top 20 teams can tell you, it's never to count out any of the teams towards the bottom of that leaderboard, because they can definitely keep a lobby on their toes. Speaking of, we see Gambit pulling in a pretty dominating performance that we just concluded earlier today in our top 20s here. But as you can see, down 19 and 20, Eternal, good grief. And Rascals was definitely one of the highlights of today's EMEA play. GG to all those teams that unfortunately didn't get into our top 20. But here are some more teams that did. APAC North, top 20, Riddled Order, 52 points. And of course, down there at tied for 15, we got FC Destroy, A2 Esports, and Sengoku Gaming. And by goodness, they have had some incredible times there in our Apex South region. A huge thank you to our global teams around the world bringing us these top scores. Reignite coming in at number 1, getting them some nice seeding points into our match point format going into playoffs. That's going to be pretty cool, especially if you were in that top 20. And of course, our South American teams, well done, Team Singularity, Phoenix Team, and Fake Love, bringing in the 1, 2, and 3 marks. And of course, our final 17 through 20, all coming in with 14 points. These are scary lobbies to begin with, and all of these teams should absolutely be given a huge GG here, Mark, for getting into those top 20 and those placement points into the playoffs.
Oh, 100%. I think there's going to be a few teams who are sat in those lobbies right now thinking, thank goodness that there's been the change of format, right? Unfortunately, we don't have LAN, but we do have the opportunity for those teams to now prove themselves in their regions and pick up some awesome prize money along the way. This is the groups for today, though. This is North America, where we're going to be focusing A versus C. And look at some of the big hitters that we have in this group. For me, this is, some of the best in the game, and also some of the form teams in the game as well. The likes of TSM, Team Liquid, Cloud9, Complexity, Sentinels, Torrent. We know all about those guys, but then you're looking across and you're looking at the likes of, Absolute Monarchy. They've been putting in some good performance recently. Like I mentioned, Knights, they won yesterday when we last saw them in the games. W putting up some big performances. So this is not cut and dried by any stretch of the imagination.
Absolutely not. And for competitive integrity here, Gaskin, you can see Group B versus D happening at the same time. We have simulcasts, and we couldn't be more excited to get all this underway.
Yeah, I know what players are like. They get a little bit naughty if there's been teams playing before them and they can play a little bit differently to try and ensure they get the points. But no, they all have to play at the same time. They will be well behaved. But Group B versus D, equally pretty terrifying. I mean, NRG featuring in that. You saw that they were tied in second place, and Esports Arena in that one, first place, holding it down. So 2 teams that we will definitely be keeping an eye on throughout today's action.
And helping us keep that eye on those teams over in groups B versus D, well, we got to say a huge thank you to Nerd Street. They are holding it down. If you want to go ahead and check out that secondary stream, head on over to the link below. Nerd Street, thank you so much for helping us out there and keeping our players on their toes and showcasing what they can do. Oh man, we have got so much to get done today, so much to see and so much to do. But more importantly, the things that we are seeing, well, there's some specific teams that you should probably keep in your eye line. And for that, it's time for our Lenovo Teams to Watch. Okay, boys, I'm going to start with you, Mr. Onset, to find out who it is you have in your eye line for today's matches.
Well, there's a couple of different teams for a couple of different reasons, and that's because we have so many permutations of what could happen today. I'm looking at Knights, though, because I feel like yesterday might have been a little bit of a marker in the sand for them as announcing themselves as a team who can be consistent at the top of the table. The way that they played, the lack of mistakes that were also coming in, and we also heard a very emotional interview from Asura as well. You know, to see how much it meant to this team and how much it meant to him personally to finally take that top spot. I'm looking at them today to see if they could do it again, finishing that top 5, and they become a team to watch moving on.
A slightly different story is Sentinels, who are gunning for that #1 spot, and it's hard not to watch them, considering they're such a pleasure to watch. They have the second highest points total out of anyone in the North American ALGS Pro League. They hit a 92 points total in round #1. It was round #3 when these groups actually went up against each other previously, and Sentinels came out in second on 66 points, just behind Complexity.
And the final team I'm looking at is the team who are just outside of that top 20. That is SXG. Now, they are such a dangerous slaying team, but when you're an aggressive team, when you like to push, when you like to pick up KP, sometimes it can go one of two ways. Now, today they don't have the opportunity for it, don't have the chance for it to go the wrong way. It needs to go the right way for them. I want to see them play with that confidence, play with that aggression, and get into that top 20. And that's where I think their key to success is.
I love it. Knights have the momentum. You got Sentinels with the consistency, and of course SXG with the motivation. Can't wait to see all of these teams play. This has been your Lenovo Teams to Watch. And that is a great segue for me, because you named Knights as one of the teams you want to keep in your eye line. Well, you know what? My talent prediction got a lot of laughs, which is fine. I get it. But guess what? Absolute Monarchy and Knights were basically one and the same in their group throughout this, and Knights popped off last time to take it all. So we'll see what I say there. That is all I'm going to put out there.
I wasn't throwing shade at you, by the way, Kate, when we saw that prediction. It's just like, Kate's always going from the outside in, like looking for the underdog story, and I respect that. I just thought there might be one week where Kate was like, do you know what? I'm going to look at the leaderboards. I'm going to actually look at the points about a team who has been consistent, not just today, but across all of the weeks of Pro League that we've had, Kate. All of the weeks of data you have, and she still just goes with her heart. So
it's like she wants to lose, isn't it, really, sometimes? And I mean, I'm all for being proved wrong, but Absolute Monarchy, you've got a lot on your shoulders now, with Kate being,
there you go. Exactly. Well, you know what? With that, I'm going to go ahead and say enjoy game #1. I'll be back a little bit later to find out if those predictions are anywhere close to being accurate. But in the meantime, you're in good hands. Onset, Gaskin, over to you guys.
Thank you so much, Kate. And it's almost a guarantee now, Dan, that Absolute Monarchy are going to take #1 spot today. And we're all going to look extremely silly. But here we go. It is time to get the action underway. We've set everything up, like I mentioned before, Dan. And to everyone at home, there are so many intertwining storylines and permutations of what is going to happen today, not just in the lobbies that we're going to be following, but also in the other lobbies as well. Every single team who's involved in the North American Pro League is playing right now, and it's our job to talk you through game #1.
We will do our best to try and keep you up to date with who needs what points, where people currently reside, where they could end up, and we'll track all those as they go on, alongside, of course, Rain Day and T-Squared will be commentating later on. Really looking forward to seeing what North America has to offer on this final day. This is crunch time. Now, this is when the nerves start to kick in. This is when you need your players to step up, have those clutch moments, because any mistake could be the difference from playoffs or potentially even relegation.
Yeah, it's a tension-filled day for sure, and we're heading down towards Lava City as our first end zone. A bit of Big Mord in there as well, so we'll have to see how teams play. We do see some finishes around the tracks as well. We do also see some finishes around that broken eggshell dome. So teams are going to have to make their way down to the southeast. And did I say southwest again? I did, didn't I? But I corrected myself. I caught myself.
Well done.
I didn't get my compass calibrated down in the break. I should have done so. But Big Mord, Lava City, that is where we're going to be heading.
It's funny because you live in the southeast of England as well.
I also don't own a compass. So, yeah, I don't know who does in this day and age.
Can you even calibrate one? I don't even know. That's a good point. But yeah, this is going to be a circle. As you say, there's a few different areas you can play. You could go for Big Mord. You could go a little bit further down towards Lava City or bank on the Dome area. One thing we certainly saw during the MIA region earlier in the broadcast was that when you do land on Dome, you do leave yourself pretty vulnerable to both Lava City and Big Mord from a kind of crossfire. So you have to play it very correctly, and you have to ensure that you've at least got a position that you can play in. Something that the players used to play in was there was like a little hole outside of the Dome, and you could kind of hide in it and get a head glitch and kind of hide away. But that hole seems to have been filled in, so now you can't actually play it, as Alliance found out the hard way.
We're going to see the Prowler off once again. Maybe Flanker is going to fall foul as the first ever pro player to not win this Trials endurance race, but it doesn't look like it's going to happen, unfortunately. Do you know what? Buff the Prowlers, that's what I say, especially in competitive lobbies. I'm only joking, don't worry, please do not do that. Do not listen to me, it would be the least competitive thing ever, but it does get the gold bag out of things, and that's going to be that classic extra loot being picked up here by Team Liquid. But one thing I actually wanted to talk about, if we do have the opportunity to go back and watch Cloud9, is how the composition, there was a lot of talk about not just the comp, but what players were going to be playing which legend. It seems like they've gone back to what they were playing before last week. We are seeing Nautic back on Bloodhound, we're seeing Zach Mazer back on the Mobility legend, and we're seeing Abralele back on Gibraltar. For me, that's something that has worked for them historically, and I'm happy that they've recognized after the change that going back to what has worked is the best thing to do.
Yeah, Cloud9, as you mentioned, they're in 8th place at the moment on 21 points, so they're getting those extra 10 placement points, or the extra placement points, excuse me, going in towards playoffs right now, but they need to ensure that in that match point format, they don't let that drop, otherwise they might find themselves in a tricky situation. But we were just on board with Sentinels, they have a team above them, and they may engage in a fight here if they feel like they want to get a little bit randy. And Sentinels right now only 1 point off of first place in the overall standing. So a solid week here, and they could be walking away with that $30,000 prize pool in first position.
I think you've been watching Austin Powers recently with some of the words you've been throwing into your vocabulary already, and we haven't even had the first circle closed yet, but TSM are going to be already inside of that train station. As you can see that Reps and Imperial How, I think, both just had white armors. It was Verholst, I believe, who only had the blue. So a quick rotation from TSM, something that we know they love to do. Moan is inside of this building, currently right down at the bottom of the table in the depths, and trying to avoid relegation is going to be their job for today. How's managed to get that Evo shield up to at least blue, but it's going to be a big day for TSM as well. You know, with playoffs just around the corner and the new addition of Verholst replacing Snipedown that has been well documented by everyone, there's not a huge amount of time to get things right for them, to find that chemistry and make sure that everything they're trying to do is on point.
It certainly wasn't the dream start last week, or, well, this weekend just gone. It was only a couple of days ago, it's not last week, but they only achieved those 3 points for where they finished in the overall standing. So slightly worse than what they've been able to achieve throughout the rest of the season, but they certainly showed signs of life, and there were moments of real promise. And I think once they do start to, you know, find that rhythm, it's going to be a scary rhythm that you're going to want to avoid, because they're going to be humming and dancing right the way to the champion screen, I'm sure. So keep an eye on TSM. I think everyone will be anyway, naturally, but they've definitely shown the signs to demonstrate they can be there or thereabouts in the top of the lobby.
Another thing to highlight there for TSM, composition-wise, so they are not running the Caustic, Valkyrie, Gibraltar composition. They have changed things up again, and I'll come back to that in just a few moments, as Absolute Monarchy are trying to hold down this height and do some damage to the teams. We're trying to have a little poke up from the stairs. The Scam will slow that down for now. It will give me a few seconds to talk about that TSM composition. How back on Wraith, Gibby is back for Reps, and you're going to have Verholst on the Valkyrie as well. So once again, a little bit of a comfort thing maybe starting to come into it for TSM. They want to get those points and secure that guaranteed position and points ahead of playoffs as well.
I think if there's anything we learned from EMEA earlier, it's that the teams that utilize Wraith and play Wraith at their best actually found a lot of success today, because she still offers so much as a legend. Even though, yes, okay, sometimes the meta leans towards some of these defensive legends and just hunkering down and finding an area, the portal seems to be so valuable. The jumping into the void can make or break your tournament at times. So I'm not surprised that we're seeing people go back to what they're comfortable with, especially how back on the Wraith. I think that's where he should be. I don't agree with him playing the Gibby. I think this is going to be way better for TSM.
Well, let's see what C9 are up to now. We have a listening lined up. Let's see what the rotation plan is.
And then we run in late. No. Like, we come in from no name side. If we beeline it like this, we're going to have to fight them, you know?
Yeah, I was just going up here to, like, look and see if there's anyone even there. There probably is.
Poppy's pills or no, Zach? Right here?
I don't know, Zach. There's a ton of beacons on the west side.
No, you're right. Maybe not.
And every team that should be on this side would have rotated early.
I
The
don't
west side
see
has all the
anyone.
beacons. We should be fine. Let's walk up to train and then rip a scan. Your
On,
pacing
on train, you said? Scan train, Zach? Or Mac?
No. Walk up to train and
Okay.
scan.
Okay. I got everything.
Yeah, let me just walk up.
I need to re-loot these for fucking Shoddy Bolt. 2x4.
3x right here, or 2x4, yeah.
I have a white bolt on Mastiff. But could be worse, but...
You hit beacon, I'm gonna scrap for you. Just check these buildings for a blue or something. 2 cells right here, can't carry. PK right here.
I don't want it.
Arc Star and shit.
No.
My bolt shot's beaming right now. I was warming up.
Mine wasn't horrible.
Mine's
Definitely wasn't
beaming
good.
right now.
Mine was rancid today.
Wait, your volt?
All of it. I was showing Zach in the range and it was not good.
Wow. Do you guys think this pulls up the hill or no?
No, it's gonna pull.
It ends like right here, right? In the
Look,
middle of the building?
look at how much is in on the west. It's gonna end like over here on the side of the building. You know,
So
you
do we
remember
try-
the snipe down zone where you got res?
Yes, I think you're right. What the fuck, Mac?
Do we
That's a good
try
call.
to play for the dome, or do we still go big mod strat?
I think that playing from big mod on this zone is death because we're gonna have to move later, and playing under bridge is pretty hard. Dome is probably gonna not be taken just yet.
Maybe we can get in
play.
over here and scout and see if there's something open we can Valkyrie for. Because we definitely want to get in now that we know
There's
it ends
probably
right
gonna
here,
be a
right?
team on that hill. Like, there's probably gonna be people chilling here, and that's not really a problem because we can Valk over them. But getting up the hill to see whether or not there's people there is going to be a problem.
I mean, we can just chow ignorantly. Like, we can burn our Gibby ult, right? To run up and get that space to scout. Because
Yeah, we can.
we're not going to need our Gibby ult to get into the building.
Yeah, we can for sure.
We could be getting ratted on everywhere. Just be ready to dome and shit.
So the comms from C9, the plan not quite confirmed as yet, but they know where they want to try and play. They believe it's what they will, where we're going to go is known as the snipe down zone. If you haven't seen why they're calling it that, they're referencing to the zone that finishes just to the north of the triple-story building that we now see Sentinels in. Wonderful work from the Observers team to jump over here, where he got those 2 kills with the heirloom having been rezzed just a few moments ago.
Yeah, it's a really awkward zone to play because you get the stacks upon stacks upon stacks in this building, but then everyone has to move from that building into the outer area, whilst everyone from the dome area also has to move south. So it just ends up being a collision of just everything unfolding in front of your very eyes, and it will be ultimates raining down. Gibby bubbles will be very important, but yeah, it's quite funny that they call it the snipe down zone. He's just kind of implemented his mark into Apex history with that one.
The Sentinels are going to be in a very good position for the endgame, but you can also say that most of the teams are going to be in a good position for this endgame as well. A couple of teams set over at Big Maud. One of those is Estro Esports, one of our Mexican teams. And on the other side, or should I say on top of the Big Maud right now, is going to be Buff Pathfinder. A few shots being exchanged. Charge Rifle not quite hitting as strong as it could, but that 63 is going to be really good for Malice Mamba to get that Evo shield up to purple. So that's step 1 of what they're trying to do achieved. Sentinels now controlling not only the second floor, but the height as well. I think they're looking to engage with a few more teams as well, if I know Sen.
Sentinels have got the beacon information. Those teams over at Big Maud probably don't, so they're going to get the unpleasant information very shortly that they're going to have to make their way into what is an unpleasant zone, really, if you look at it, because a lot of that zone is taken by just mountain. Of course, you could play down in the vault area, but then when you predictably see the zone move away from the vault area, you then have to try and get out of a choke, and you will get focused by all these teams holding this current triple stack building, and it very rarely ends up in a enjoyable experience for you. Certainly if you've got a Wraith or an Ashe, there are ways that you can get out of it, but usually you're kind of out of the frying pan and into the fire for the most case.
One thing that's going to be interesting here for Sentinels, you mentioned Ashe, and from this position with all the teams escaping, they'll be able to just wait a few seconds until the carnage kind of takes control of itself, if that makes sense whatsoever. The teams start to fight outside of that building as the zone does close, and they can use that Ashe ult to just insta-Q past, essentially insta-fly past and avoid all of the damage, and appeared almost instantaneously behind a team who might be fighting to take a spot. So that Ashe ultimate is going to be very, very important for Sentinels towards this endgame, as we do see Absolute Monarchy and Knights already eliminated from this lobby. Sorry, Kate, it's not looking good for you already.
Well, I hate to say I told you so, but I'm going to say it anyway. Told you so.
I was going to say, it's one of your favourite sentences.
It really is one of my favourite sentences. Yeah, not the best start for either Knights or Absolute Monarchy. I'm more surprised by Knights, really, considering the Saturday they most recently had and how dominant they looked. But it's only game one, and there is a lot to be said for slow-burning teams and teams that can, you know, get slowly and surely better as the games go on. But as we look more at this circle, the more concerned I am for all of those teams who don't have or didn't have that beacon information as much as the others, because it's going to make their life a living hell, that's for sure. But certainly the Legends will provide that extra ability to sometimes get within a circle. The Gibraltars are going to be very key, and I'm excited to see how it plays out, because if it is that same end circle that we saw when Snipe Down was dropped from the air and heirloomed 2 people to death, it was one of the most exciting end circles we'd seen in quite some time.
TSM have managed to get a knock onto Estral Esports, who were trying to push underneath them here at train station. It was Hal with the PK who managed to get it done. I'm not sure if they managed to secure the finish. They haven't as yet, but they're just on the hunt at the moment to see if they can close this fight out. Hero Hal's just going to be having a little poke around the corner with that rampage, but Reps has just been absolutely deleted, and oh my, Verholst nearly went as well. And here comes Estral Esports, and what a turnaround this has been. Hal now with the pressure on his shoulders as Reps has been taken down. Verholst has managed to rip a Barry to get at least his shields back, but this is not what they would have wanted from this situation, having a man advantage.
Well, at least Verholst can cover whilst they get the revive here and force maybe a little bit of a push, but it looks like it's a res for res with the bubble going down, so both teams reluctant to try and push up and risk throwing away what would be a chance at the late game here, as there are a few squads around and there's always that potential chance of a third party.
Yeah, this is nervy moments here for both the teams inside, because like you mentioned, the third party is waiting on top of the train station. But look at those shots coming in for Verholst. The Vault is hitting hard. 140 plus and a little bit more damage. As the dessert menu is set for the rest of his teammates to come in and eat. He's going to have that flank. He's going to be doing the damage. Verholst stepping up here for TSM. He just needs his teammates now to swing around this corner, but the caustic gas is going to slow things down. And again, maybe a little bit of frustration here for TSM that they can't finish this fight.
Bubble goes down as well, just everything is being thrown at them defensively, but you've got to be very careful of your TSM here, because now they think there's another team in the vicinity potentially trying to take advantage of a third party, and that is exactly what's happening right now.
That's what I meant. The time that it's taking them to finish this fight is frustrating, because it just presents an opportunity for someone else to push. Reps down, not for the first time here, the second time. Hal's going to be beating him back towards Verholst, who might be thinking about a res. Here's C9, who have just arrived on the main stage as well. They're having a little peek through the window. The curtain hasn't lifted for them quite yet, but if they get their opportunity to hit center stage, they won't say no.
Such an elongated fight. It's crazy that no one's actually been able to be wiped, but now Cloud9 are going to pounce, and unfortunately if these nades hit, they're gonna hit hard. Reps will die, and now it's gonna be cleanup crew for Cloud9.
Reps taken down again. C9 retreat, having done the damage and finding a safe space to play. Hal's going to be taken down as well by Naughty, and C9 now only have Verholst to deal with, and the pressure now for Verholst is to take TSM deeper into this game. But with the amount of people that are in this building and the amount of pressure that's in this building, I don't even know if you'll be able to escape to maybe even think about hitting a Valkyrie ultimate to survive what is this onslaught inside a train station.
Yeah, I think Verholst is just hoping that someone from the other team is going to try and get involved here to give him a little bit of freedom so that he can break away and just try and play some placement. You can see now on his screen as well where that circle is moving. It's actually going a little bit southern than maybe what Cloud9 had expected. And that could lead to a lot of problems for those teams who are within those buildings, and maybe the teams that are far south might be able to play just at the very tippy top of the hillside and could potentially get away with avoiding some gunfights here.
Speaking of getting away, Verholst has done that for TSM. He will be playing this game out as a solo, and with 17 squads remaining, this is not going to be an easy task whatsoever. But if he tuned into the EMEA broadcast a little bit earlier, maybe he can take a little bit of inspiration from Gambit Esports' Hardecki and the way that he came up with the clutchest solo plays that we've seen in some time in the Apex Legends Global Series. The good thing for Verholst, though, is he's got ahead of the crowd here. Like you mentioned, that zone is going to be pulling uphill. The likes of SSG are trying to make a little bit of a rotation here towards that northern side. There won't be too much trouble for them to do so. And if Verholst can get ahead of the crowd, then they will take each other out, and there might be some placement points still available.
Team Liquid looks like they're going to try and hold out SXG here, and realize that quite a few teams are going to try to take this position off of them. They're in one of the more desired locations, that's for sure, but SXG are not only fighting against Liquid, but also the zone right now, and I think it's looking a little bit dire for them. I'd be surprised if they can come out on top here, but they're going to have to go through the vault potentially, or they have to take on Liquid, and either way, you're gonna die, so SXG wiped.
Yeah, SXG, not what they would have wanted for the start. The fact that I mentioned them previously right at the start of the show as a team to watch, they are just outside of that top 20, and now Nocturnal starting to find some targets and take some names with that triple take. Fun's trying to move up to capitalize on that damage as well. 16 squads remaining. He gets another huge bit of damage with that Arc Star. That's going to force the bubble. Now the push is coming in, the tick damage, the flesh damage, the barrel's going down, but can they get the angles here? Are they going to wrap through the zone to try and get a cheeky angle, or are they just going to hold for now? As Nocturnal is going to arrive on the scene, take to the skies, and he'll be providing that aerial down fire.
Really good damage from Liquid at the moment. They just need to capitalize it and also not leave themselves too vulnerable from being shot from behind. I remember this end circle now. Sentinels versus TSM dancing around the rock weeks and weeks ago. And I believe it was Sentinels who did come out on top of that one. Yeah, it was just amazing to watch, and it seems like it's going to be a very similar one.
Well, here come E8. They managed to somehow survive this push that was coming in from Team Liquid. Liquid are going to think about having another look, and Liquid will have another look. The problem is there is a player with a sniper rifle that's just traced on them at the moment, and every time, they try and cross, they're just taking a little bit of damage. That's burning through the meds, but not just burning through the meds. Finally, Fun says, I've had enough of you looking at me, and oh my word, he's going to be lighting people up. He's been causing some severe sunburn to the team that's on top of that building, which I think still is Sentinels, and with that, he's going to get that red Evo shield as well.
Verholst has just been wiped, so TSM eventually fall, but I guess job done. They've secured the one placement point for getting into top 15, so it's better than nothing, that's for sure. As we're focusing on Team Liquid, they currently have 13 points. They're in 18th position, so only 2 ahead of those kind of desirable locations where you want to be finishing in the top 24 playoffs, but some good results here, and they should be able to push their way and just secure their spots in playoffs. But there are certainly teams who will be trying to take that position off them, and some teams that have the ability to do so as well. Ghost Gaming I'll be keeping an eye on in the other group. They could maybe pick up some points.
Team Liquid will have all the meds that they can possibly want. Sentinels now involved in a scuffle inside of this bubble, and we know what happens when you put Sentinels inside of a bubble. Usually they come out on top, but this is not a usual day of action here, and Lou will be left on his own. He's down to 1 HP. Sentinels out. Keeping my eyes on the kill feed to the right as well. C9 involved in some fights. 11 squads now remaining as all of the carnage starts to open up here on World's Edge. Complexity take to the skies and manage to stabilize as well, as now they'll find this rock to play behind, but there's a team there already, but the damage will be done with the Arc Star.
Kill feed is scrolling so fast right now. 6 squads remaining. This is Destruction Derby. Such little areas to play. Very few objects you can actually hide behind, and if you do find somewhere to hide behind, there's probably a team that can see you. Complexity show just that. We went from 14 to 5 squads in a matter of seconds.
And look who's managed to be kings of the castle. It's C9 who are right at the top of this hill now. What a job it was from them. Complexity also here. You can see at the top of your screen, Team Liquid surviving too. Cloud9 now, I mean, the bubble's going to go down because all of the artillery that everybody else is focusing on to C9. I think everyone else realizes that C9 are maybe the biggest threat in the lobby with the position they have.
Yeah, they can look down above everyone. They can play the angles and maybe head glitch, but with the grenades flying at them here, Cloud9 are going to really struggle to stay alive. This is where you have to perfectly play all of these rocks. A great damage being emitted by Cloud9 right now, just to try and keep other teams at bay.
Yeah, Albrelli had no choice but to hold right click there and left click, excuse me, and just get as much damage as he could. No natural cover for C9 to play, and they have been focused, like we mentioned. And while that's going down, look at Complexity. Monsoon's decided to swing wide, and see, oh my word, look at Albrelli. C9 looked down and out, but Albrelli has held his ground. He played the knockdown, and now he's just trying to survive the onslaught. He'll be taken down as Liquid move in to clean up C9.
Liquid versus Complexity, it's a 3 versus 2. Complexity have everything in their hands right now, just need to make sure they hit their shots, which they will, and Complexity take game 1. A fantastic effort from Cloud9, Team Liquid also getting there to 2nd place, but it's Complexity, kings of the castle once more, just as they were weeks ago when these two groups went up against each other. They won the first game of that week, and they've replicated it here once more.
Just the recognition of the perfect time to swing on the team doing damage to Cloud9 was what won Complexity that game. Like you said, putting themselves in the best possible position to have those shields ready, to have those guns up when the final battle with Team Liquid did go down. This is how the leaderboards do look after the first game then. Pretty good game from Complexity. You have to say 7 kills alongside the 12 placement points will give them 19. Liquid, a great start for them. C9 managing to take home 3rd place as well. CLX was the other team involved in that final skirmish. But as we look down to the other end of things, Knights, a disappointing start for them after such a good day. Last time we saw them, SXG, another team we highlighted, and TSM with just that 1 kill. So a long way to go for all of these teams, of course. But what a dream start there, Dan, for Complexity.
And I'd love to go back and watch that from Complexity's point of view, because I feel like all 7 of those kills probably arrived towards that end game, and it was a mental one. Everyone was pushing out from Lava City. There was also teams, of course, pushing from the southern side to try and get the hill advantage, and it just all collapsed into absolute mayhem in the middle, and there was Gibby bombardments everywhere, caustic gas flying left, right, and center, Valkyrie missiles hitting you when you thought you were safe. And ultimately, Complexity, the way they played it, how they maneuvered their way around the map, and pushing at the correct time is what won them the game. They didn't have crazy damage that you might see from winners in previous tournaments, but certainly they got the job done. They were efficient on set.
Yeah, I think efficiency is the best term to use there for the way that Complexity played that end game. It was just recognition of when advantages were going their way. Like I say, as soon as the attention was taken off of them for 2 seconds, Monsoon wasn't afraid to swing and get that first knock onto the team onto the left, and then, as we say, the damage was kind of being done between C9 and Team Liquid in that final bubble fight, which made it much more simple for them. And the interesting thing for me was, like, there was an element of luck to it as well for all of the teams who ended up in that final skirmish, because a lot of them hit that Valkyrie redeploy, they took to the skies, and they kind of fell down, and there was carnage below, and it was kind of, where did the carnage end up? Where did the spaces end up to land on? We saw when Complexity landed, they just seemed to find a pocket that nobody else had found, and then they managed to get a wrap on a team. So those kind of things have to be taken into consideration. But with that taken into consideration, Complexity, you can't really say they did anything wrong, and they didn't make any mistakes when they were granted it.
And I think the scary thing is when you are a Valkyrie team arriving into a zone like that, it's almost like a zombie apocalypse. You all have to land backs to each other, looking every single angle, and take your own fights, and just hope that individually you can put up a match to a potential 2 or 3 that are staring at you, who are hiding behind a little rock, hoping that you wouldn't be landing nearby. It's such a anxious point of time when you do arrive there, and you really just have to have someone who can make those calls quickly as an IGL, be prepared to help your teammates when you can, but most importantly, individually, you have to step up.
Well, let's take a look at the other results from our other lobby we have going on at the moment. Just a reminder that groups B and D are also playing simultaneously with A and C, and it's going to be Unlucky who took home the first game there with a phenomenal victory as well. 22 points for them, and CLG, who have had a season really not to write home about, with a 2nd place as well. G2 continuing some good form, 7 kills in the lobby for them, and Furia also having a very good first game too. NRG and Esports Arena, 9th and 10th, always keeping our eyes out for what those two teams are doing. At the other end of things, Legacy MX, we mentioned them just outside of that relegation zone. Some points on the board, which is good for them, but 14th place overall, not ideal for that lineup.
I mean, CLG are dead last. They've got 1 point, but it's not impossible that they could still get playoffs. If they were to win and results went their way elsewhere, they could still just creep into 20th position. It's unlikely, but I've said something would be unlikely already today, and it ended up happening. So maybe CLG fans, your luck's not out just yet. And the other team down there is Unlucky. They're in 31st position, and they're winning that group at the moment. So a couple of the teams who have had bad weeks seem to be stepping up here.
Well, let's see what's going to happen in the games to come. But before we do, we have to go for a very quick break. But when we get back, plenty more Pro League action coming your way.
Spotted a subject.
Monster Energy, the official energy drink of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Well, it's a good day to play. It's a good day to watch, and of course the cast as well. We're back here in North America for Game 2, coming up on your ALGS Final Championship Sunday. Even though it's not really a championship, Tom, this is kind of getting us to the championships. Of course, the playoffs coming up in January. You've probably heard the news. We've had to shift to an online format, but it's meant that other teams have a chance to jump into the top 20 now instead of what was the top 10 requirement. And Tom, we just saw Complexity off of that win. What stood out to you? Not necessarily about Complexity, but about that first game and the tone that has been set for this lobby.
Well, first, let's talk about how far they have to go to the zone, because they're an epicenter team. They land up over towards that northeast side. They have to go all the way down towards the southern side of the zone. And we hear teams say, oh, man, that's so tough to go and make these rotations. Why does this happen to us? That is not an easy rotation. So let's start off with that. And then let's also start off with just the way that they're moving. The way that they're moving, to me, goes and shows that their comms are on point and that they are just extremely excited about today. And that's what you love about Complexity. You love when they're hype. You love when the vibes are going, because they're one of the most fun teams to watch in Apex.
For a team with complexity in the name, doesn't really feel like there's too much going on. It seems very simple with the approach for them. Make sure we work together, get the job done, take home the W. We'll see if they can do it here game 2 as the Apex Legends Global Series Pro League kicks off day 11, final day, as the teams are dropping out of the ship. And look who we start with. The winners of game number 1, Monsoon, Shiny, and Reptar. Just finding themselves a lot of value, not only not hiding, but handling that charge rifle and the snipers very well, but also found themselves in the high ground, a position every team wants to go to, an early beacon, and the ability to rotate on the Valkyrie has helped them take this big boy lineup, as we like to call, going with the Caustic, the Gibby, the Valk, transporting the big boys to where they need to be to hold it down. It's worked well so far for them, but like we saw in yesterday's North American matches with G2, there are different styles that can win any of these rounds. The more aggressive approach with the Ashe, something that G2 specialized in, but we've seen the Crypto come into play a little bit more often today, Tom, specifically, to kind of shake that meta up.
Look at this zone. It's sharing in between 2 different sides, so you really have to pick your poison on which side you think that this is going to go on over towards. You could see a majority of that is going more over towards the no-name area, so teams that play Geyser are most likely just hoping that it's going to pull down towards there. I would say most likely going to be one of those no-name zones, though. So going on over and locking down from your fragment rotation is going to be extremely important. And who's going to be doing that? That's going to be TSM. And I'm excited to see TSM's team composition because you have Verholst who's sitting there and rocking the Valkyrie, which he did on Team Esports Arena. You got Hal back on Wraith, which is his tried and true. And we've seen Hal do so many different legends throughout all of this. We've seen him play Gibraltar. We've seen him play Wraith. We've seen him, go on Crypto even, Octane. There's been a handful of different legends in this meta, and I really think that that is the type of TSM composition that you'd love to see, right? Now that you have some changes, there's going to be some adaptions, and you're going to have 2 different ways to go and rotate. Hal's always been one of the strongest players in terms of putting his team in a winning position, and now we go on board with Sentinels. Sentinels is a team that most likely is going to want to play this choke, but you could see Crust has some sort of info. There's a couple of footprints down in front of them. They're going to have to find out exactly how long ago this was and if that choke's going to be safe.
W, maybe the ones they're tracing here. And you can see Sentinels second place in the lobby. Esports Arena still leading number 1, even though the switch has put Verholst into TSM's side and knocked on the side of Esports Arena. It's about a minute or about 56 seconds. This is when you need to see in round 1 all the Valks say hi to each other as they pass by and rotate again in the sky. The early rotations. OXG, Kubsky, Cousins, a local native here in Encinitas. See him at the coffee shop every now and then on my way to start the day. Got to give a big shout out from the Cuzzo. And of course, Kubsky, one of the young stars of Apex Legends and this Pro League, has been for many years. He sees a bubble going down. That means there's a fight to be had. They may just want to get a part of it.
Kubsky, former captain of Flashpoint, highest average placement in terms of the previous Pro League, or excuse me, the previous ALGS season with an average placing of 5th place. You really got to give credit to Kubsky for his zone knowledge and the way that he positions his team. Interesting from TSM that they have elected not to rotate here. It looks like they're setting up an ambush, Rain Day.
I feel like they got off to a tough start. Buff Pathfinder was the team that was kind of holding them in that engagement, and then C9 played Spoiler. That started off a real good run for them, obviously coming in as a full 3-man and put them in the position to get that top 3 that they had. But Buff Pathfinder, a team that was in the relegation, still is right outside of that relegation conversation that we saw Fenerbahce in EMEA in last just a few hours ago. So it'll be interesting to see. TSM, obviously in the middle of that dynamic, says we got to play this a little bit more patiently. So, Tom, I'm not surprised that they're doing it a little differently. To me, you don't want to go 2 games in a row and obviously start off with 0 points. That would just be detrimental for not only your confidence, but obviously the synergy with Verholst. Obviously, we know he's talented, but fitting into the team and executing, that's something we're yet to see.
screws over here.
Yeah. Lou on the wide armor. Should change pretty soon. One more shot of the triple take. Definitely this charged up. Should get him what he needs. Can't quite find the target yet. That's a very dangerous position. There it is, 63. Right on cue. Lou, do what it do to get his blue.
This is such a weird, play in my opinion from TSM. I'm not quite sure what their idea is in terms of sitting on over towards the edge of the zone here. I think that is just a play that is their new team, and what they're trying to accomplish is team fighting and gatekeeping teams on over towards the edge. I like this because they do have double rotations and they have Gibraltar, so I'm excited to see what this new TSM roster is going to have for us. Sentinels, though, we knew that they were going to go and play the choke. That is the choke that overlooks No Name, which we have a feeling the zone is going to end on over here. If they need to rotate back on over towards Geyser, they have that as well. So to me, Sentinels has one of the most powerful positions. Problem is when you do have to slide down here, once you do have to play into No Name, you're going to be stuck underneath the buildings, and that is never a good spot to be in, especially if you don't have a Caustic on your team. So we'll see exactly what Sentinels is going to do here. They have the biggest kill potential, in my opinion, out of all the teams, but it is also one of the riskier spots to hold.
Height and inside typically get you the W's around here, guys. Are not underneath. That's a rarer one. You can also play back edge of this as well. That way you keep the action in front of you. But Sentinel's definitely in the thick of the action. You might just say, maybe they're on blues. Lou knows he's got the ability to hit those long-range shots. He's got 200 energy ammo on the triple take. Why not? Spend a little bit of time here, see what develops, get yourself on a purple, and then be able to make a rotation with some better gear. Sinox finds himself in the same situation. Lou, I believe, is 11 damage away from now. So Sentinels playing patiently, as they should, trading medkits. I'll make that 300 damage. So he's got a little bit more work to do. But if there's somebody that can do it, we know Lou can. Just was going to mention this as well. You talked about double rotations with the Valkyrie and the Wraith for TSM, but what about senior service here? Implementing the Ash. James Fearless knows that there's time not to waste here. Do we see a phase breach come through? He's got the grenades up. I bet if we see some damage, there will be a push.
There's a little bit of damage. It looks like they've put in more than they've taken, so I think that the push could end up coming here very shortly, but that's a big scan coming out from SlurpyG. Metro eating a lot of bullets coming in from behind. He's going to have to go and hit that Phoenix kit, so 9-10 seconds for him to be out. But a little bit of zone damage, ticking away here for senior service, and that early bird special doesn't seem to be available anymore. I think the time frame has run out, Rain Day. It looks like they're not going to be able to chase this team down unless they stick around.
Weirdly enough, it's a mirror composition, I believe. It is the Gibraltar, the Bloodhound, and the Ash on both sides. And so that's Senior Service and SXG who are going to be going up against their carbon copies. However, they're going to elect to say they will not decide who is the original and who is the clone this time around. We'll check in on if any more engagements happen through there. Obviously, Geyser, we've been paying attention to that area over the course of this map. Still 20 teams alive. No early rotation for TSM. We've noted that there's been a change after that engagement that went awry with Buff Pathfinder. But as our teams start to get towards this final circle, we could see Charlotte, Phoenix holding on that backside. Kodagami there at the edge of that building. Lux forward by himself. Sentinel still up top. And three teams kind of coordinating here in this choke that's going to lead from Fragment all the way into that backside of Geyser, and eyes from Buff Pathfinder as well. The team, Tom, that desperately needs these points more so than almost anyone else in the lobby, you could argue, because they are in a relegation position.
Yeah, they desperately need the zone to pull down towards them too, and you can see the two teams that are basically hoping for a miracle in terms of where this thing's going to pull, because you can see where Charlotte Phoenix is. It's a very common end over towards that backhand side of Geyser, but right on cue we get that mini-map popping up, and it's an unorthodox pull, actually. It's going to go a little bit more towards the west side. Typically, whenever you see the zones, they continue to pull over towards that same side. This one's going to bounce all the way through, and it's going to throw teams for a loop. You know who's going to be loving that? Team Sentinels. They're going to be able to pick up a lot of kills in this type of situation. Speaking of kills, let's see if SXG can walk away with some here. You can see the player outlines coming through. Slurpy's going to have to hit another scan if that's going to be the case. And Knights, they're piecing out. You can see him checking up the deuces on Guild's side.
Guild wants to stay on that high ground, as any Valkyrie should. Metro to go, just healing up with the shield cells. And you can see that's Slurpee G. I believe that was the Bloodhound ultimate we might have just heard. So they may be trying to engage, at least a scan coming through, right on cue. And so this could spell trouble. Asura, though, has got time. And here's the engagement we were talking about. The Volt hits, can't push. Nice, couple of headshots as well. Asura, what's he want? A little bit of more. He gets it. He gets the Thermite, and that's where Metro to Go might just find a rhythm. He's burning 2, and he's got to have told Slurpee that. Scan should be up in just a second, and they're waiting patiently. Both teams know, Tom, this is a big, big moment. We don't want to overstep our bounds and lose one. The first to drop typically means that will put a stop to this fight. And so, still staring at each other, paces away, yet worlds away here in terms of figuring out who's going to win this one. Oh, there it is, Golden drops.
Asura with the assertive play right there, pushing through, but Joey gonna get knocked on the back end. Big 99 coming through. That's gonna be the zone taken away. Asura's gonna be able to get the reses. Big win there from Knights. Caustic coming through. Buff shoulders just coming. This guy's been lifting. He's even picking up his teammates right here. I mean, that was a pretty ballsy play. Let's be honest. To have your Caustic push directly into the enemy team is not typical unless it's another enemy Caustic that you have to get rid of because he's the only one that's able to push through the barrels. But I love that assertiveness from Asura. He continues to put the barrels down, continues to advance forward. Once he feels like one person was out of position, he's going to go and push. And he was the one player that was continuing to jiggle peek, continuing to strafe and outshoot the enemy team. What a job from Knights. Asura and his team really needed that.
Metro and the rest of the squad going to take that one to heart for sure, as Game 2 puts them out as the first team down. Even though they were looking pretty promising earlier with a couple of fights, they'll have to wait until this one is finished. Team Liquid with the ArcStar pressure inside. And TSM Albrelelli, of course, that's just part of the name description. It's not the team that he's playing for. That'd be C9. And they have done well to be in top 3. Can they do it again? They're going to have to survive this one. The Digi on the wingman and the 2-tier in terms of the heavy mag. But the Rampage is something that he has been consistently on. Maybe the early adopter of the Rampage into this meta. A lot of people credit him, saying this is a weapon that was better than we expected. And we have Albrelelli to go, who on record saying he believes in it first.
You can credit Albrelelli with a lot in Apex. Let's talk about how he was one of the original Pathfinder mains and just dominated for season after season until the nerfs came through. Also, just the way that he moved around the map, especially on Pathfinder, really opened your eyes. Consider him, you know, almost like how people said Asu was so amazing on Wraith and really set the pace in terms of his movement guide. That's what Albrelelli's done for all the Pathfinders, for all the people that love to grapple and fly around the map. He's always been just so talented. It's great to see him continue to play. But Team Liquid in a 2-on-3, somehow magically getting a knock. That's going to be the bubble going down. And if you're in this 2-on-3 situation, you really have a small, limited window to go and push this one. Nocturnal realizing that, he's going to go and add that pressure. But as soon as that happens, it looks like another team was threatening on over towards the side. Curious to see how Flanker ends up getting picked. That's an interesting situation when they are in the zone in a really good spot to lose out on your Caustic. That is not ideal.
And right now they're also thinking a little bit more conservatively. At least they have the option to, because they have the beacon. And so the banner, and they can deliver it to the beacon. So Flanker's not out, even though he is down. That knock, surely not knocked anymore, as they gave up the building, did not want to push and fight for a better day. Cloud9. Oh, it's heating up, baby. Albrelelli, he knows the Rampage and what it could do. He's ready to fire off, and most people won't be expecting this level of poke. The charge rifle pokes first, though. Cloud9 knows he's got Aiden the Destroyer in his sights. And Guild, he's landing from the Valkyrie ult. Will Knights lose Guild? Yes, they will. It's C9 in the kill feed. You can see it. They take down Knights. Not all of them, though. There's still one alive. And that is troublesome after Knights had to fight all that way, finish off Metro, and then obviously come through the zone. But look at C9, Albrelelli, the Thermite. He's the one who gets burned.
Charlotte Phoenix from behind. I'm not quite sure what the rotation was. Keep in mind, I think they were still in the back of Geyser at a certain point. So they had to go in Valkyrie ult, come in behind them while all that was happening and caught Albrelelli off guard. You can see Albrelelli does have his dome down. That could be a defensive bombardment coming in from the enemy team too, so you got to be careful. It looks like they are eating a lot of damage from that one. Zach Mazer is going to take to the sky. They start to push. Built by Gamers is watching them as well. That's going to be Reptar from Complexity going down. Naughty's down. Albrelelli's been knocked. Stink's involved too. This is a 5-6 team fight, Rain Day.
Ooh, and TSM are getting involved as well. They're taking out C9 with the help of Charlotte Phoenix and now RKN. Torrent getting all up in it, and this is what you love to see in North America. It's game 2, and everybody's already putting their cards on the table. We're seeing if somebody's got a 2-pair or they got a full house, and maybe a flush. We'll have to find out towards the end game because those don't get revealed till later. But I'll tell you what, built by gamers, they build the wingman as well because they're not missing a shot. Tempest cleans it up, hits the Evo as well, gets back to red. He's going to have time to reload. Wicked throws the bubble down, buys a little bit of momentum, a break from momentum for him. Tempest and Synced.
This team has a lot of raw talent. The thing is they've just now started to adapt to the meta within the last couple of weeks. And you could just see the overall skill from Tempest, one of our strongest controller players that we have in North America. Always clutching it out. Used to play a lot of Bloodhound. Now switching on over to Valkyrie here. That Wingman EVA 8 combo. Very unforgiving. One shot each you get, but it looks like he was just completely on point the entire time. Question is, with 20 seconds to go in zone number 4 closing, where is the rotation going to come from?
And it's just in the middle. Just in the middle of nowhere, it feels like. Not a lot of cover. You've got the bridge in some respects, but you've got to make your plays. It's going to be a gun skill fight, and it's also going to be who gets shot first. As if you can stay out of the lines of sight of your enemies, you just can buy that little bit of time where no one's thinking of you. Maybe pull a little bit of a hard decky where you're in the middle of the action, but not the center of the action, if you know what I mean, and therefore you can kind of skate by until it's time for you to make your move. A skyward dive over on the side, and we know that Team Liquid was fighting that team, and now we'll see if they're able to make their move. And Sentinels have just stood here the entire time, and they're going to be able to gatekeep an entire squad. This should be 3 free KP for Crust and the boys, and they're going to do it. They try to get the Ash Hole, but it'll take them too late because he got killed before he can phase breach. Oh, and Sentinels clean it up. That's 3 KP on the board for them.
It's virtually impossible to win that fight coming up from Geyser into the choke. That's why Sentinels has been playing so patient. They knew a team was going to eventually rotate. Not only that, they played the middle of both zones, and they get rewarded big time with the zone pulling directly on top of them. So it couldn't get any better here for Sentinels. They are locking things down, and everybody is going to have to push up towards them.
They've got access to the left and the right. You want vanilla, you want chocolate. You can get the swirl when you're talking about Sentinels. They can have a little bit of both. But down below, it is looking dangerous. Absolute Monarchy losing stomps. He's not looking for Sung as well. He's going to try to get the shield battery off, but he doesn't have a lot of ammo, a lot of health to work with in general. He's only got a blue shield. He's going to get slightly stunned there. Not as bad as the Bangalore concussion effect from the ultimate, but it'll do the job, especially if there's follow-up, but so far there hasn't. He's going to have to go big with the PK shots. Misses the first one, that's a problem. Fury, Scissors trying to make it out as well for W, and they do grab to the high ground. Were they able to grab something? Maybe this Loba Black Market will help him out, but it's TSM who's still involved. 6 squads left, Tom. It's starting to heat up.
And you wonder if TSM knew the unorthodox pull was coming through, and that's why they didn't want to commit over towards the Overlook side, because it was just going to be an absolute bloodbath. So they continued to hang out over towards Fragment. They continued to play the edge, sneak and weasel their way forward, and they've been rewarded with a decent placement so far. We'll find out if they can finish this one off. There's your teams on your right-hand side. W, Astral Esports, Sentinels, TSM, OXG. A couple big hitters in here, and some teams that are really fighting for their playoff and relegation life.
And you can see a W in arguably one of the better spots. Unfortunately, they are definitely in a spot where they have 3 teams that are looking directly towards them, or at least above them. TSM and Sentinels might actually be in my premier spots, Tom, just because of the fact they can play circle, obviously behind them, but they also only have to deal with each other on the left, and there's about 3 teams to aim for in front of them. Plus, I love this little rock. I love this downhill. You have a couple of head glitches you can play, and if there's somebody who you don't want to give a head glitch to in a good moment, it's Hal and the boys of TSM, especially Verholz and Reps, who are just clinical like a knife when it comes to slicing through the competition. The missile strike is there, and it's all 3. Do they go? Do you push this? I think they're just going to stay. They're getting pushed because they say, we can't wait any longer. The circle's moving in. They're going to have to take a little bit of edge damage, even more edge damage. Will they make it out alive? TSM, oh no. They're the ones who start the engagement, but they get pushed and they end up going down, it looks like, unless Hal can pull off a miracle, and certainly not today.
You know Sentinels is going to show up here any moment. W's over there as well. That bubble from Reps needed to be a little bit more farther. That was just so unfortunate that the bubble goes down on the enemy side. A little bit of panic there from the TSM squad. They don't toss the bubble as far as they needed to. Verholz was a little confused on how that zone was catching up to them while the Storm was just eating them alive. Nothing you could do right there besides maybe toss that a little bit more forward. And you know who's going to love that? The other teams on the outskirts looking in. OXG, they get blessed with a res as well. They have Sentinels in their sights. Now the focus on over towards Sentinels makes you wonder if Sentinels could have full sent that over towards the OXG squad. And now they continue to have grenade on top of grenade. If that thermite would have landed, we could have been seeing some serious burn.
I mean, they're being so patient. I mean, look at it. They're just trusting their calls, trusting the eyes, and they're trusting that they're not going to get Ash ulted, to be honest, Tom. I mean, that could have been a phase breach that would have really done some damage in an instant. You know, G2 would have pushed that. OXG may be playing a little bit more careful, and Fury, Scissors, and iPhony just on the side of W saying, we're content to not have to worry about this. Seems like OXG and Sentinels are going to fight each other. And all of a sudden, Lou's thinking, should we get out of here? And they certainly do. The Ash ult, phase breach. Breach this, throws down the defensive bombardment. They're going to have to walk through as well. The cells popping just in time. Sentinels playing that very edge, and it does look like OXG are now going to have to turn with the bubble alive on a W, but W's looking at everyone. Will this be the high ground that wins it all? That's going to be a Sentinels bleed. W can push in to finish off the last members of the team. It is OXG, Protectful. He's grudging out, but it's going to be a W focus that is going to be so hard to stop. The hip fire, the crouch. Tom, I don't think we could see it happening any other way. It's W taking the W today in game number 2.
The patience from W really starting to pay off right there. But not only that, holy smooth shots coming through. Recoil control just so on point throughout all of that. Everything coming together to get that dub. Sentinels, you saw the thought process. They wanted to Ash all over towards OXG. They wanted to try to force the bubble. Not only that, they used the defensive bombardment to try to gatekeep on the other side, to try to force W out, and then they tried to push the other team into them. Unfortunately for Lou, that defensive bombardment did not go anywhere where we thought it was. It actually was a much more shallow defensive bombardment. It looked like he tossed it towards the enemy team, but that wasn't the case. It kind of fell a little bit closer towards where OXG was instead of where W was, and W really excelled in that type of situation by keeping all of the action in front of him.
It was a great performance by W. We've seen Phony pull together, and Fury as well. Really some of the best clutches we've seen in final circles. We know they know how to play it. We know they can hit their shots. Big shout out to OXG to stay involved. But Sentinels, to me, is a team, I had going the distance today, but also a little disappointed with the execution on that final moment. I feel like they had a lot of resources. They were almost too patient, I would say, Tom. It felt like they had an opportunity where maybe they should have hit the gas maybe a little sooner or a little later, or change directions, because that Ash ult, it did get them involved, but what was the advantage that they gained from that? It felt like they just looked at OXG, who could kind of look at them, and they still had to recover from phase breaching, then throw the ult, then get the bubble up a little later. So maybe the right idea from Sentinels, maybe the wrong execution, maybe decent execution, the wrong idea. Either way, it was W who took the dub on the day.
Yeah, you get a little sense of what they're thinking as we take a look at 8 kills coming in from Phony.
It's
big damage as well. 1,500 with 3 assists, looking really, really solid. You love to see it, though, and you love to see how everybody played that one. I thought OXG did phenomenal getting back up, and they got the res. I thought Sentinels, like you said, had the right thought process. Didn't really come through on the execution side, but that gives you a little taste of what Ash can do over towards the tail end. I don't think anyone was expecting this random Ash ult to go and push on over towards the team. And unfortunately for OXG, that's what Sentinels was trying to do, and it kind of griefs their game just a little bit, because that's what happens in these 3-on-3-on-3 scenarios. 2 teams eventually have to fight. The team that's furthest away from all the action gets rewarded big time. That's the positioning that W had. So really hats off to them for playing that positioning well.
Yeah, and climbing the hill. I mean, Sentinels kind of took a different approach. W was able to do that, but it was a fantastic showcase either way. And it's really put us in an interesting spot. Really looking at how the shape of North America has shifted. We see W with that win now on top of things. OXG jumping 8 spots. Sentinels notably jumping 6, as well as Torrent getting in there. Big shout out to Cole for getting married the other day. We saw the picture on Twitter, retweeted by Apex Legends. So big shout outs to that. Got to be playing with a lot of energy from that one. And of course, Team Liquid, Cloud9, OXG, Complexity in the mix of things here. TSM jumping up 4 as well to be in your 11th spot. We've got still questions, still eyes for me, though, Tom, on Buff Pathfinder, a team I'm watching for relegation. Estral needs the points as well. They're right outside of relegation, right one step ahead of Buff Pathfinder. So 2 teams on the bottom side. There are stories we should be keeping track of.
No doubt about it. They are playing for their lives for the next split right now, and you're to most likely see them putting the pedal to the metal over these next couple games. Halfway through game number 3, eventually, that's when things are going to start to heat up. Game number 4, things start to turn up as well, and you'll really have a thumb on the points and what you need to do in these final moments, and then the desperation starts to set in. But one thing's for sure, all these players are taking this so seriously. Everyone is cram-packed. I mean, Game 1, what was it, 15 teams going from Zone 5 into Zone 6? That is absolutely absurd. Yeah, it was a Lava City zone, and then everyone had to push up. But we've had some unpredictable bops to the left-hand side on the West Coast right there in that game, and that created so much action. And you have to really give credit for the teams that predicted that zone. For example, TSM not going over towards No Name and not being baited. Sentinels taking the choke. W taking the choke. Those are all really high IQ plays, and that's not easy to pull off.
Well, high IQ is the least of it. We're seeing some high IQ, some high skill, and some high execution, but we see some high point totals for the teams that are on the bubble of relegation or looking to claim a #1 spot here in today to earn some advantages in playoffs and some more cash. We'll find out as Game 3 is coming right at you after this.
Lenovo Legion. Gaming PCs that are stylish on the outside and savage on the inside. Lenovo Legion is the official PC and monitor of the Apex Legends Global Series.
Welcome back, everybody, to the ALGS North American Pro League. And it's W who pick up the win in game number 2, with Onset and Gaskin here to take you through game number 3. Now, my question for you, Dan, with that impressive performance from W in that previous game, are we going to see double dubs now for W?
That's a lot of W's and dubs and D's and Y's, but an important victory for W. They were 12 points coming into this entire thing overall standing, sitting in 19th place, so right on the cusp of those 20th positions that we need to see people try and achieve for the playoffs. So I think that was a massive win for them, a massive W, and they now need to press on. They need to continue this consistency, ensure they get those playoff spots, and certainly with a performance like that and a way of playing the end circle like that, there's no reason why they can't do it again.
And this is game number 3, of course. You can see that we're live now, so we're almost halfway through today's action. And I always feel like game number 3 is a very interesting point for a lot of teams. They sort of felt out the lobby. They know how teams are looking to play, where they're making their rotations. And I feel like the best teams who have the best results in these games 3 through to 6 down are the ones that adapt, recognize those situations quickest.
Yeah, I think adapting is something that's massive in the Apex Legends scene in general, not just to the meta, not just to how other teams are rotating, but just with how things develop with, Legends coming in and changing how people are going to be playing, changing how people are going to play end zones. End zones, whilst they may be similar in terms of where they finish, they can very much vary depending on which Legends are in the meta right now and which Legends you're going to be going up against, which entirely can depend about what lobby you've got going as well. But there's the circle heading down towards Tree and Thermal Station for the most part. Various different areas where you could try and play this one. I imagine we're going to see a lot of people travel towards Tree and then maybe play on the train tracks just north of Tree as well. If you can get into one of those little train carriages, that could be a nice area to play.
Well, already on their way is going to be W. You can see they're just outside of Harvester for now, just looking to move across past this little respawn building and maybe going through the train tunnel or maybe towards the choke just next to it. And that looks like what the plan is going to be. If they can get hit first, this is a pretty good spot to hold down. Not only are you holding out the rest of the lobby, who are rotating from the north to the south of World's Edge. It's kind of one of those positions where if you have to rotate a little bit late, if you see one of those strange balls maybe towards the other side of the mountainous area that is in front of them, then they can make that quick adaptation and they will be able to still have access to the zone. A decent performance from TSM in that last game as well, so they're going to be a lot more confident than they were after game number 1 for sure. Weren't quite able to close things out, but points on the board for TSM.
Yeah, it just seems like there's minor things at the moment not quite going right for TSM. It's not perfect, but it's not far off, and I think that is that speaks wonders for how quickly Verhulst is adjusting to this team and how they are gelling together. So I think there's only good things to come. Knights had a much better game 2 than they did game 1 as well. They demonstrated what they were able to achieve on the Saturday when we witnessed them in round 5. But now they need to press on from that. Certainly Asura has been very oppressive on the Caustic, and I'm hoping to see more of the same in this game.
Well, they're going to be taking the slightly longer route here through the train tunnel towards Landslide. Maybe looking to go through the underpass, the mining tunnel towards Harvester. We'll have to wait and see how they do play that. It doesn't look like they have the beacon information at the moment, so maybe they're going to look to hit the beacon if there was one available, over here at Landslide to give a bit more information as to where they want to play. But for now, it looks like it's going to be a little bit of a longer game here for Knights without that information, so don't expect them to do anything too crazy, as we're going to see Built by Gamers moving down towards Lava Fissure here to get that information that I was talking about.
Yeah, everyone just kind of tagging the beacons, then moving on. And then the next team arrives, tags the same beacon and moves on. And it's about who's winning that race to the priority positions at the moment. Liquid are going to be late moving in, but remember they had a good game 1, and I'm sure they would like to continue with their consistency as well, as they currently reside in 18th position, just 1 position ahead of W in the overall standings. And it's going to get very tight here in North America. Between that kind of 18th to 23rd range, there's only a couple of points in it. So one bad decision could change everything, and one risky play that benefits you could actually, save your bacon.
Well, Nocturnal's doing some good work with only the 2 times on the charge rifle, but the 2 times is enough to certainly kiss the armors of the team that are making that little move from building to building, but maybe he wishes he had a sniper scope for now. Maybe doesn't, as he hits 54 just as we swap away from that point of view towards E8, who are in one of the priority positions, you would think, although there's already a couple of teams in the vicinity that you can see. G2 will be around here as well. landing over at Thermal Station. It looks like they don't want too much of this here. They're actually going to redeploy up to the skies and find somewhere else to play. But from those pings, you can already see teams making that transition towards tree, Dan, and getting the lay of the land here, very important for E8. Where they land is going to be obviously important, but I like it when teams try and play around this choke, using that high ground and moving in late. But it looks like instead they're going to play for that truck in the middle. That's going to be free.
This is one of my least favourite positions to play, though, this truck, because you do just leave yourself so vulnerable to grenades, and the amount of times we've seen teams just get completely collapsed on within that truck. Nades followed by bullets, followed by fire, followed by death. It's just not an enjoyable place to be.
Followed by missiles, followed by arc stars, followed by frags. Yeah,
anything that can be thrown in will be thrown in. I mean, if you could just throw your player in there, if you could toss Gibby in, I'm sure he'd be thrown. Yeah. Like a bowling ball.
Spin pass him in like a rugby player. Anyway, we've got Liquid available now. They're hitting the beacon. Let's see what their next move is with a listen in.
I'm going first. Realistically, we want to come in probably from bridge side. We're gonna look to see here too. I'm gonna land down at bubbles and see if we can find a sniper scope to loot.
There's a team in that spot.
In what? Okay, in the corner.
On red, yeah. They're playing the corner.
I'll do that. Just need a sniper scope.
Oh, your footsteps did not sound like friendly.
Ooh, I need that. Well, I don't need it, but...
Just no scopes.
Oh, here, up here, up here, up here.
Okay, go down, 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 go down.
Valkyrie team.
Go down. Give them respect. We're going north. We're gonna go hit the geyser and get out of here. Okay, move to geyser. Team fighting east.
Where are we geysering?
Guys, go northeast. Go northeast. We're looking to the third party of that team. If possible.
Bubble right here.
Yep.
Two on high ground. Shotgun fighting on high
You
ground.
might be able to snipe one and just get a quick kill.
They're trading.
Well, look at the kill feed, although there's not much happening for Team Liquid here as they're trying to make their change of rotation. TSM and C9 are fighting. Verholst has been finished. Reps has been finished as well. And Hao will have a solo mission, maybe to get his teammates back into this game or try and survive. So TSM backs against the wall here in game number 3.
Fairly certain I saw members of C9 knocked. I don't know if they were finished as well, and maybe it was just a blow for blow, and both the remaining players decided to get out of dodge, but considering how far Hal is running, that would suggest that maybe it was C9 who came out on top. And Hal now trying to do the loop-de-loo to see if he can get those banners. If he can, as a Wraith, there is still that possibility, you know, you could get him back in the game and TSM will be able to get to the latter stages. You can see there that Monas were eliminated as the first team, so still, unfortunately, been a pretty poor Pro League for them. And even though they've shown signs of promise, doesn't seem to be picking up here in the last remaining round.
Well, let's take a look away from the attentions of Imperial Hao and towards some of the teams that are in tree at the moment. And there's quite a few of them. You can see that OXG are right in the center of the tree structure. You have Sentinels right at the southern tip, inside one of the buildings. And now we see what happens to the rest of TSM. You can see that Verholst and Reps, unfortunately, will not be playing the rest of this game. Those banners, timers are going to run out, and Hao's going to have to play this one solo.
And certainly with kills already found by the TSM squad, then at least they're happy they've got some KP. And perhaps the shout was, let's just try and rat out for placements. Because we've seen already, not just today, but historically throughout ALGS, you can get some serious placement points if you can play it correctly. And it really does help when you are a Wraith. There's a little bit more information there on your screens about where that circle is going to be going. So the train tracks are going to be the center area. Tree very much still one of the priority positions. You could play slightly north of those train tracks as well. You can reside there for some time. And even if you're really brave, could play the kind of northwest side towards the actual train station, but you may find you get forced out and have to Valkyrie ult a little bit late there.
Well, Complexity, you can see they're a little bit split across the map at the moment, so Reptile's just going to use that Skyward Dive to actually go and join his teammates after doing a little bit of looting in this game. You can see the Monsoon and Shiny waving at him through the skies, and they've got the runway lights up for when he does land. Here is C9, though. They were the destroyers of TSM that we saw. Unfortunately, left down to one member if you're a TSM fan. But C9, I have my eyes on these guys today because I always feel like when the big teams are in the lobby, that's when C9 play their best Apex Legends. And they're already showing today some really, really positive signs.
Yeah, they did struggle when this lobby went up against each other in round 3 just a few weeks ago, or it was a little bit longer than a few weeks ago, but anyway, beside the point. They only finished with 20 points. I think their best finish was 3rd. Outside of that, it was a lot of 18th, 17th, I think 14th was their other highest one. So they need to have a more consistent finish within this lobby. They need to find maybe the C9 that got 97 points in round number 2, and that's currently the record here in ALGS Pro League.
Absolute Monarchy playing the backside of this building. Sentinels are in the area, though. That was a team that I think might be actually inside of this building. There's going to be a scan that comes in as well, so their position will be given away. But they should be safe for now, and this is actually a pretty solid position to hold down towards the end game, too. You are pretty much covered from any of the teams which are on the northern side of tree. Just got to be careful. There's a couple of thermite grenades or just grenades in general. Don't poke through those grated windows and do the damage, which is going to invite the team which is inside of the building to do that. Maybe a little portal outside, maybe just a little peek outside to clean those kills up. You can also see they've got to be careful with their backs as well. There's going to be a few shots taken, but they should be safe for now as C9 now make their adventurous route towards zone. They're going to be just inside of it at the moment. Maybe thinking about going through the train tunnel. Maybe thinking about a little bit of a wider wrap here. But just remember, Complexity were the team who were just hovering around this corner of Harvester. So they've got to be extremely careful as now we jump back on board with Sentinels.
Sentinels who are inside and could potentially take this fight with Absolute Monarchy if they would so desire. I doubt they will, because there's not really any need for them to. But if, as you say, if a grenade gets tossed in the right direction and it does a considerable amount of damage, then I'm sure they would be inclined to actually try and pick up the free KP after doing that initial damage. It's just what could happen elsewhere. There are a few more teams in that vicinity that could third party, and you don't really want to be the first team to get involved in something. Instead, you want to bide your time, you want to allow other teams to slowly dwindle away as the circles close, and then maybe look to get some KP from the teams who are vulnerable as they approach the circle coming in.
Complexity are that team still holding down these the crates and the grated fences. As we see Absolute Monarchy coming under a little bit of fire now, and this is the position I was talking about. It's looking a little bit more uncomfortable than it was a few seconds ago, and even with that team, I was about to say, that have gone down, Sentinels are going to come in and pick up the pieces, so Astro Esports just causing problems for the lobby there, but certainly not for Sentinels, making Sentinels' life a lot easier by taking the team out on the backside. Now Sentinels don't have to worry about that. They don't have to be concerned about some grenades being thrown through the window. Now they can control that space, and that was just free KP donated to them.
Yeah, Sentinels were licking their lips as soon as they heard that damage. Just had to watch the kill feed, wait for a couple of knocks, and then they were in and out as quick as you would like. A couple of KP for them, and they will be delighted with that. And that just shows, just having that patience. Like, some other teams may have pushed those outside a little bit earlier because they felt that they were in a disadvantaged position. Oh my god, disadvantageous.
There you go.
When you're telling me how to say words, you know I'm really struggling. But it really is, you know, one of those situations where they played it perfectly, and I'm really surprised that Astro Esports kind of dropped on that, and that's what happens sometimes with Valkyrie ults. Like, you just land and you hope, and it can really punish you.
It just not only punishes your game, but another team, which is the problem. You can see the zone is going to be moving away from that top building that Sentinels do currently hold, so I won't be surprised to see them maybe try and make a little bit of an earlier move to command some of that high ground outside of the train tunnel, above the train tunnel, I should say. That central structure is still going to be involved as well. Maybe that truck is going to be where a lot of the final fight does go down that we saw a little bit earlier, but Knights are going to have to make a big move here. They do have the Valkyrie ult available, which I think is going to be plan A for them for sure. But where do you land now with 16 squads still remaining and that zone starting to close right now? It's going to be a very, very risky flight path, and you would expect some turbulence for sure on the way down.
Certainly when I'm playing Apex Legends, the Valkyrie ult is usually the oh crap button, because you fly up into the air and you probably are going to fly to your death. You need to have a secondary plan. You can't just have that plan A of assuming you're going to be landing in the perfect position. Knight's under a little bit of fire at the moment in thermal, and they do have to move shortly.
Round 3 closing. You can see the call is now made. Air traffic control, get ready because the skies are going to get very, very busy here. This was the other fight that we saw a few moments ago outside of the building, including Sentinels, and it was Absolute Monarchy who unfortunately found Estral Esports a lot closer than they maybe would have wanted, and that was just free KP. I mean, look how easy this is for Sentinels, just walking in. Nobody had even a chance to armor swap. Sentinels don't need to be asked twice, as Team Liquid now under fire outside of the train station. A couple of shots going in with the Peacekeeper, not going to be connecting quite for now. Flanker is extremely weak, and Flanker will be taken down, so now the pressure falls onto his teammates, and built by gamers of the team who are being aggressive, and built by gamers of the team who will win that fight by the looks of things, although they do have one player still to try and eliminate. Tempest is taking damage, Sync is taking damage as well, and now Tempest is left on his own as the third party starts to arrive, and they will be taken out.
Yeah, unfortunately, just a few more teams got involved there, even though that BBG had done the job taking down the majority of Team Liquid, who have now been fully wiped by Knights. That's always the risk of getting involved in a fight in that location. There are going to be plenty other teams waiting in the wings to take you down. As we now get on to 13 squads, the kill feed's starting to light up ever so slightly, and that zone will be pulling into a direction where Knights can play this. They can go down through the tunnel if they wanted to. They could also loop around. There's a few various ways they could try and approach this one, as Complexity are in this truck of doom that I was speaking about a little bit earlier. There's the first grenade, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty more to follow.
Certainly is. There's some death boxes on the floor, though. The question is, the armor swap's available. The bubble does go down. The Nox gas grenade is going to go in. Monsoon doesn't care about it. He'll walk straight through it. On the caustic, he's not going to be taking that damage, so he'll be able to hold while his teammates do take a few seconds just to get those heals off. Cloud9 now taking to the skies as well, so this is a risky move now for Cloud9. Where is the playable area for C9? You can already see they've taken some damage. They can land up on this high ground. It looks like they will be safe for now, so wonderful piloting coming in from Zach Mays, and the bubble goes down. They'll be able to stabilize.
Everyone in the plane, a round of applause. It's really annoying when it happens, but sometimes it's deserved if there's a lot of turbulence, and Cloud9 have done just that. There was a little bit of turbulent air, but they land safely, both wheels on the ground, and now they can do some damage from the inside out. The Rampage hitting harder than anything you've ever seen before. Cloud9 just need to keep away from this bombardment, heal through it, and they're in a really strong position right now.
Yeah, C9, this is the position I was thinking the Sentinels might actually try and take themselves, being able to overlook everything that's happening. As long as you can hold out your backs, you're going to be fine. But that pressure is starting to come in. A little bit of blind fire through that smoke, as now Knights are making their descent as well. And just look at the pings that are coming in from the Valkyrie passive. There is not much room to play. This might be a little bit of a bumpy landing for them. Do they have a bubble to get down? Yes, they do. So they'll stabilize for now, but so many angles are going to be available for teams surrounding to do damage.
RKN gets knocked elsewhere. C9 certainly being a nuisance. Sentinels also in the kill feed, taking down Imperial Hal finally. So Hal getting 13th place, but maybe not the placement points they would have expected, or well, not expected, but hoped for after he was the lone survivor of that team. OXG also falling. Now Torrent do eventually get shut down. So 11 squads were into that situation with 11 squad trying to fight for that last position. Remember, top 10 gets you one extra placement point over the top 15. It is Cloud9 again, just trying to get involved in engagement.
Nice. C9 are just frying everyone on the backside at the moment. This is what I talked about, and this is what they had to do, just clear out all of this high ground, and Albrelele is getting a tune out of that Rampage. It is hitting strong, it is hitting hard, and it is just suppressing so many teams who are trying to play this height, which now C9 can put a flag in with C9 on it because they own everything.
Well, SXG wiped in 11th place then. And on the kill feed at the moment, it's Cloud9 and it's Sentinels, and they are both demolishing the lobby from one side to the other of this small portion of World's Edge. And I wonder, are they eventually just going to collide? But there's a little bit more to play for yet. There's a few teams there or thereabouts that could certainly be a thorn in the side of both of these squads, and I think they're both going to have to move very shortly as well. There is a small place to play in a few seconds.
C9 going to bubble across to make that cross. Sentinels now caught in a little corner and not sure what their next move is going to be. There is a team to their right to the east, which they're going to have to be very, very wary of, or jump into a listen-in straight away with Sentinels as they're going to move forward with that ultimate coming out of Ash.
Yeah, I bumped. We're going to fight this team. Full heal and we're fighting this. Okay?
Yeah.
Actually, I don't know if it's a good idea. Yeah, we have to, though.
They're flying above us. Someone just landed above us, no? I'm medking.
Yeah, they did. They landed directly above us. Just chill. AFK. Make sure they don't ape us.
They don't swing.
That team's gonna fight above us.
You have a therm? Drop it if you do.
No, I don't.
Make sure they don't swing on us.
Careful.
Yeah, I'm watching it.
Scanning. 1 sec.
He's
Yeah, they're
all
just
the way
sitting.
across.
One's sitting up top.
It's just a rat. He's gonna have to drop soon. Dead.
Nice, good job.
Do we kill this? Do we just 3v3 this fucking team or what?
Come here.
Isn't lower better than height?
I think lower is better than height, honestly. I think like playing right here is perfect. I think we just show walk in.
Go back.
Just make sure we don't get swung from anywhere.
Yeah, somebody hold behind us. I have a rampage. I don't have a good gun to hold that.
I have a triple tick and a
team in tracks
PK.
as well. Team in tracks as well.
There's a blue armor swap on the ground.
Go. I have like no fucking light.
They can't swing us behind us. They can't really swing.
Give me helmet for TP, just in case.
Here, dropping it.
Okay, so
like I said, they can't swing us, but they can.
We just walk in, play this left, and beam them when they walk in.
Yes.
We low key just have to play underneath them. They're gonna have to drop on us regardless. We just this team's dying underneath. Who's watching behind us? I'm not. I have a rampage.
I'm watching it.
Yeah. You guys need bats? I have 7.
Yeah, I do. Give me 3. Thank you.
So what? We just playing underneath them?
Yeah, we're playing underneath
them. Back to us. Okay, someone.
So Sentinel's plan is clear. They're going to just try and play on that red ping you can see in front of you. C9 still alive to their immediate left as well on the other side of this mountain. It's almost like it's almost symbolic, isn't it? The two mountainous teams, the two kings of the lobbies, being separated by that huge piece of rock. As C9 now try and look down upon everybody else that's below them in zone.
Knight's also still alive, another team that's performed very well across the last weekend, so I'm expecting this to be a very exciting ending. And actually Cloud9 are going to go for a play here. They're going to use the skyward dive to try and just go up, avoid everyone, and land above someone. And this is going to either end very badly or it's going to be something very pretty to watch.
Well, this is a good thing here for C9, the fact that they can work out where everybody else is landing and they can take their time. If they win this fight, it might be huge, but no, the bubble will not go down for C9. It was about 0.1 of a second from hitting the floor, but unfortunately, it wasn't there, and it isn't going to give them the cover they need, and now they're going to be forced off of high ground, and what looked like a good play from C9, unfortunately, will be shut down. Complexity getting involved with that fight as well. Complexity on that low ground. Sentinels now on this high ground as well. They're going to be forced into the bubble. There's 1 PK shot. There's 2 kills coming in from Lou. Sentinels just crushed the competition, and now Lou is going crazy with the PK, but here comes Complexity. Crust left on his own, but he'll just be swarmed by Cole.
Complexity and Knights have just managed to absolute collapse, and actually I'm not sure who the third remaining team is, but Knights have managed to stay alive, and Knights will shut down the remaining rat who tries to ruin their day. Knights carry on their form from the previous weekend, and they managed to get the W.
So Knights will pick up that win, like you say, completely right, continuing the form from yesterday. And I tell you what, there weren't many shots missed in those final moments between all of the teams involved. We saw big PK shots coming in from Lou. We saw Complexity just swarming like a pack of wolves in to clean up the pieces, and that just left the door open for Knights to come in and have the easiest job of all. But another winner in our lobby today, and once again, the points being kind of shared out, but Complexity, I think, so far today after 3 games have been one of the standout teams.
Yeah, I think the fact that kind of Sentinels, Complexity, Knights, they're all up there is a good thing for those teams who are kind of competing for those top 10 spots. It's a bad thing, however, for those teams outside of the top 10 who are trying to break in to get those extra points going into the match point format for the playoffs. And also a little bit scary for those teams who are really low in the leaderboards because they need a big victory. They need a big top 3, most likely, to actually break into those playoff positions.
And it's going to be interesting for sure when we get the leaderboards to see exactly how that game has influenced things. And of course, I'm sure that there'll be teams looking across from the other lobby as well, waiting to see how things have turned out as well. But Knights, I mean, I talk about confidence a lot in esports, and you saw it yesterday in the interview with Asura. You know, belief is massive, and getting that first place, so to speak, as a team can just gives you that belief that you can actually cross that line, that you can be one of the best in the game, that you can be one of the best teams in the lobby. And you can just see from the way that Knights are playing that end game. C9 tried to drop behind them. They got involved in that fight. They managed to pick up the kill with a little bit of help from Complexity along the way. But then just showing that resilience, showing that, you know, ability to take the foot off the gas and let the lobby play out in front of them. That's end zone at its best there. Knights really impressing me today.
Do you know what's crazy is that I keep saying last weekend and you keep saying yesterday, but it was actually Friday that it happened. So neither of us are correct. I think that shows our sleep schedule at the moment and how everything is just merged into one these last few days. But there is the overall leaderboard. 15 kills for Knights. That is a mammoth game, and I'm sure they're going to be delighted. And it was W. That last remaining team who kind of came out the woodwork at the end was W in the end of things. So they got 12 points with a nice placement of 9, only a few kills. But Complexity and Sentinels certainly were farming as well as Cloud9. So a lot of the kills going towards the heavy hitters in that game.
Yeah, keeping my eyes on the team that are in and around the bubble on the overall standings as well. You have Torrent, you have SXG, once again, just lacking the points that they need. And with only 3 games to go now, it's looking like they're going to have to step up or step off as far as the playoffs is concerned. So a lot of pressure on these teams now as we head into our final couple of games here, Dan. And as we take a look at the stats and Gildas, I mean, everybody on the lineup putting up numbers. I mean, 6 kills for Azura, 6 kills for Gildasons, 3 for Joey Blackout, and pretty similar damage across the board too.
Yeah, I think it was one of those end circles, wasn't it, where if you were in the vicinity of Tree in the early stages, you were going to be able to farm some kills. And I think if you were an insider looking out, you could pick up some, you could just pick off kind of KP by KP from several different teams without having to engage in 3v3s. But then at the end, when you did have to engage in those 3v3s, if you timed it correctly, if you got those pushes, if you got those armor swaps, then you were going to be a threat. And that's exactly what Knights were able to achieve. And Asura, again, very impressed with what he's been able to offer on that core stick. Really does make a difference.
It has been very, very impressive so far today, and I'm sure that their impressive streak is going to continue because they look like one of the form teams. And I talk about form in Apex Legends a lot as well, and with the playoffs going to be one of the next tournaments hitting form right now, especially when you're looking at that top 20 and you're looking to secure points ahead of a match point format. It's certainly something that is going to be filling them with all sorts of confidence. And like I mentioned, I was watching Hal's stream yesterday, and he was saying, oh, Knights are in our lobby. Knights are always in their lobby, but they're kind of off-put by the Knights being in their lobby. And the fact that he brings that up as an experienced player is showing the influence that they're having not only on their own games, but other teams as well.
Yeah, you know, if TSM are having problems with the team, then that probably means they are a very impressive team indeed. Kate, I think, is still there or thereabouts, somewhere in the universe, so we'll bring her back when she's ready. There she is. She is there. It's like I can predict the future. You enjoy that one?
It's like that. Exactly. Yeah, no, I will tell you that looking through games 1 through 3, I think it's really interesting that none of those matches were taken by any of the teams. Well, did someone choose Complexity? I can't remember. My point is that we had Complexity, we had Knights, and we had W. And I will say that none of those teams were ever really the big heavy hitters as we take a look at these highlights. But you know what? Gaskin, you nailed it. Onset, I think you said it as well, which is that we've also seen momentum and consistency from Knights this go around. And certainly in the last couple of days, they have shown this lobby what they're made of. Gaskin, at this point, we're 3 games in as we take a look at our highlights, of course. What are some other honorary mention teams, some other teams that we want to make sure get some light in the sun here, even though they haven't, unfortunately, brought in that W?
I think TSM have had a few struggles, and you've got to, of course, pay attention to how difficult some of their rotations have been. I'm maybe a little bit disappointed with Estral. I think they've had a couple of opportunities to put themselves in a position where they can maybe take cleverer fights, but they weren't able to do so. They are one of those teams, though, that when they do get into those fights, do get into those engagements, they do a lot of damage. So I'm expecting a little bit more going into the second half. SXG have been somewhat unlucky with being gate-kept here or there, but again have been outputting a lot of damage. And I think Oxygen and Torrent have both been there or thereabouts in the kind of last 15 to 10 teams, but just haven't been able to break through to that next section. And I'm waiting for that to happen, because when it does happen, they are 2 teams who can sometimes pull off some very impressive results.
Absolutely, Onset, as we take a look at Built Guy Gamers, another team that I think, along with Senior Service, that has made it into these lobbies for a reason. They're in our groups for a reason, but unfortunately haven't been able to, convert those great key plays into consistent wins.
Yeah, I think there's been a little bit of a gulf maybe at the top of the table that's emerged already today. I think that it's not going to be quite like we saw in EMEA, where we're going to have a few point sponges at the top, which are going to be, taking points away from the chasing pack, which is a concern when we talk about overall standards, right? And where you actually end up, and if you can force your way in or you can force your way out of that playoff group, that top 20 that everyone is aiming for. And the same for the relegation spots. If you're not being able to put yourself in a position to pick up enough points to throw you up the leaderboards, then it's going to be a very nervy final couple of games where one big game for one team could completely change the complexion of things. But I'll be really impressed with W today. I think they've been one of the form teams, one of the most consistent teams that we've seen so far in the lobby. They got the win in game number 2, and in game number 3 that we just saw, they of course got that second place as well. And I just find it fascinating how from week to week, from lobby to lobby, there's always a couple of teams who just find the way to play it. And W have been one of those teams today who have just really stood out to me.
Absolutely. And Gaskin, as we take a look at this last match in our 3-match series here, I want you to talk me through what I'm sure we'll see it, which is Cloud9's Valk ult. It's hard for me to say things out loud, because I think it's enigmatic of what this ult can really do in that late game, and in some cases not do. And this one showed us the good and the bad in rapid succession.
Yeah, unfortunately for Cloud9, even though they had managed to gain the high ground, the Gibby died before the bubble went down, and that unfortunately is always going to be Curtains. The Gibby is the most important person to stay alive, but Sentinels did really well to focus that Gibby from a distance, and then after that Cloud9, well, they just faced the death screen and they were straight into the respawn section. But it was Knights in the end collapsing around all of the other teams to perfectly pick up that W there. I hate saying W when there's W in the lobby, but W actually came second after W was taken by Knights. Now
Let's go with dub.
There
Dub.
You go. Yeah, dub.
Pick up the
double,
dub. There you
W.
Sort of kids say these days, isn't it? Dubs.
Well, let's take a look at the leaderboards and show what W did there, as well as who got the W as well. And we can see a nice little moment here in the sun on set, and W, Complexity Knights, really showing us what this lobby is. And by gosh, I'm sorry, let me just give Knights a moment. That's 15 places up from where they were.
That's quite the jump for Knights, and quite rightly so as well. They had a huge point game in our game number 3, but I'm kind of looking at the other end of things. The teams, like I mentioned, on the bubble, SXG, are struggling today for whatever reason. They really are not having a good time of it. Torrent as well, outside of that top 10. We've mentioned TSM struggled in the first 3 games or so as well, but Team Liquid have been very impressive today as well. Unfortunately, they got involved in a little bit of a scuffle in the outsider zone in that last game, but their consistency has certainly been there. But W, I think, are the story today, and Complexity. Complexity have been pretty much in every single end zone that we've had so far today, and if you're doing that, you put yourself in a good position to win games.
Absolutely. Well, let's take a look now, Gaskin. We are looking at A versus C, but as we know, we are going for B versus D on our secondary stream. Oh my goodness, G2. That's that. There you go. They seem to be repeating some performances from the prior days.
Well, G2 again showing what they're made of, as you say, but worryingly, Esports Arena down in 14th position at the moment. Remember, they are the leaders of the overall standing, so that opens things up to Sentinels, to NRG, and potentially to G2 to all maybe wrestle away at that number 1 spot. And then when we look at teams that are like kind of on the cusp of those playoffs, I'm looking towards maybe Ghost Gaming. They're in 8th position at the moment, so they're still in a place where they could potentially creep through, or like to see a couple more big games. Premier GG stepping up, going 9 positions up and getting on to 23 points after their previous game. So it looks like they had a very successful one.
Yes, they did. And I will say it is an interesting, and Onset, let me ask you a quick, it's an interesting concept, the idea of some of these teams that they know they're making it to playoffs. Where they're going to find their seeding is really the question that what they're playing for here today, which can be, of course, the silver bullet in some cases, getting through playoffs. What is the mentality of somebody who comes in and says, you know, I'm facing relegation if I don't pull it out today? And is that the reason why we're seeing some of these teams, the W's of the world? We saw Future Perfect yesterday, that we're seeing perhaps some of these teams popping off when maybe they wouldn't otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, when the pressure's on, some people perform. And when the pressure's on, some people just collapse. It is as simple as that. And sometimes when you realize you don't have an opportunity to make any more mistakes, you have to focus, and you probably focus harder on every single micro decision that you're making, because it's different, right? It's right now, this is the last group of games that you have to get it right. In previous weeks, you might be thinking, oh, I've got another week. We can put it right next week, you know, and you run out of time eventually to say that. It's like, all right, we have to get it right now. Otherwise, we don't have another opportunity to do so. So it is quite an interesting, kind of dynamic to have as a team. And I think that some teams maybe just finding that focus a little bit. Maybe they've had a little bit of luck go their way as well. All these things kind of roll up together to put those performances in.
For some, there is no tomorrow. For others, just the beginning. Well, you know what? If you want to keep up with all the drama and the fun that we have been dishing out across all of our socials, well, I'm so glad you asked where to find that information and that content. Twitter. Play Apex Esports. YouTube, Play Apex Esports. And twitch.tv/Play Apex. We've got some great supplementary content. If you want to see some incredible late game circles, some incredible gameplay in general, just head on over there. We got it all. It'll be fun for everybody. And hey, something else to remember, if you're tweeting at us at Play Apex Esports on Twitter, go ahead and throw that hashtag ALGS into your tweet as well. And we'll see about potentially having you on this very program. That is all we've got for this moment. But as we know, we have gone through games 1, 2, and 3. 4, 5, and 6 are on the other half of this break. See you in just a minute.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Oh, and that means good things are happening here at the ALGS. That means it's game 4. And next time you see us, it'll be game 6, the finale, which decides a whole lot of things, a lot of money, a lot of prizing, a lot of titles, and a lot of hard work that these teams have put in. We are here on day 11 of your ALGS Pro League, which has culminated in this really interesting setup where we've got teams like TSM maybe underperforming. We've got teams like Knights overperforming again and again. We've got bubble teams like OXG making themselves known. And we've also got Torrent, Liquid, and Sentinels consistently involved in these final circles, yet none of them able to kind of inch out and claim supremacy over the lobby. Is today, or rather this game, Game 4, Tom, the deciding game for one of these teams to finally seize control and never give it up.
It could be, and also don't count out C9, Rande. Keep in mind, they've been in the hunt throughout all of these two. They were one bubble away from being able to take that high ground. If Albrelli tosses that bubble out a little bit earlier, they're going to be A-okay. Something that they got to keep in mind of is you're going to be the first Valkyrie team to rotate into alt in that final circle. You're heavily going to get focused, and Sentinels focus them. A handful of different teams focus them. But I'm looking out for Albrelli to have a big game here. He has to be upset with that performance. I know him. He's definitely someone that's going to be a harsh critic of himself, and he knows that bubble should have went down a little bit earlier. So look out for C9 as well.
And he just got caught, really. He got caught looking at what looked like such easy targets right in front of him. He shot for about, a half a second before deciding to throw that Q down. And yeah, it cost him. You hope it doesn't, but it did. So that will be a lesson learned. Unfortunately, it is a lesson that they can't get back right now in terms of points, but we will have a northwest zone looking like a lava fissure landside, maybe a countdown circle towards that back end, and that will do wonders for Team Liquid. You don't have to travel too far, and you can also see OXG. You have to just make a short climb upwards towards the left, but Knights, they don't have that far to go as well, and they've been playing quite fantastically, if I might say so myself, Tom.
I agree. I think they've been playing phenomenally, and I love the variety in zones that we're having. Game 1, Complexity wins. That's a Lava City zone. W wins Game 2, the Fragment Choke zone. Knights win with the Tree zone in Game 3, and now we get that countdown/landslide zone. The most variety we've seen in quite some time in terms of the zones. I know the pro players and the fans are going to love that.
And that just makes today even better as they continue looting up. All is quiet in Fragment. Feels like the kids are sleeping on Christmas Eve. But as you all know what comes after that, you wake up and the mayhem begins. Cloud9 enjoying a little bit of respite before all of that, though, as they loot as well. A team notably finding form at the perfect time. Imperial Hal finding a few shots with the R301.
Looks like a ping down to a blue armor goes down, and they're going to be rocking an unorthodox comp here for the weapon choice. It's going to be R301 Volt. I guarantee he's going to be looking to switch that out, most likely grab a shotgun of any type of sort. But when you get that gold mag, you really wonder, am I going to get rid of this Volt? Most likely not. So he's going to be ditching that R301 for some sort of shotgun. PK, Massive, EVA 8. Definitely not the Mozam. So we'll see what Hal elects to do over here. I mean, I'd love to see Hal just swag on people with the Mozam. That'd be great.
And my awareness of the Mozam has shifted pretty drastically lately, as it is the top tier shotgun to start with, and one of the best weapons to start with in arenas, although that has nothing to do with this. It has given me a lot more respect of what you can do with that weapon if you really lean into it. Obviously a lot better choices for this high level competition, but hey, Mozambique, you'll always be in our hearts, you'll always be in our minds, and of course our memes, which is where you started. Yeah. And you'll probably
shout out to all the players that ping every Mozambique still to this day. You guys are the real ones, 1000%. But yes, if you are going to play arenas right day, Wingman, Mozam, that is my go-to. And I know a lot of players are going to agree with that one. It is super cheap, affordable, and it looks like there is going to be a huge fight here for Astral Esports. They're going to have to win this one. Slurpee coming through with the knocks, and Metro, the GOAT, coming through and shutting it down. Astral going to go out as a first team. Unfortunate there, but SXG was just there and ready for the fight.
With high ground, he could have maybe turned that around. I mean, he had just as much health as Metro, and it was just Slurpee, who was on about 50 and not engaged in the fight. It would have been a 1v1, and then would have had to clutch up against a belabored Slurpee coming in a little late to the party, but not a chance. And that is a problem for Estral. They're going to have 2 games to get it done. But we saw, even with an incredible Game 6, it may not be enough. That's what Clean had to find out earlier on today in EMEA. And we hope that is not the same fate for any of our teams who are in that bottom 8 of the 40, facing a potential relegation based on the final results today. Sentinels, though, are not facing that at all. In fact, they're looking to close out a first-place finish here. Only 1 point behind ESA going into today's standings, and they find themselves in a skirmish. The R301 in the hands of Sinox. Defensive bombardment outside. That'll force Loot in with the boys, and they'll hold down. Plenty content to do so. They've got the Ash Tether to help at least barricade the door a little bit. No Caustic, though, so being sieged on offensively, it is a possibility. In fact, that Caustic barrel is blocking that door. forcing their exits to be pretty predictable. So they're just going to back off now. No easy way to fight this so far for Sentinels.
Yeah, but did you see how clean Synox cleared out those barrels? It's like he went into firing range and tossed 1,000 barrels down and just started shooting them to start warming up for this type of tournament. I mean, you love to see the movement from Sentinels. They're always so smooth and fluid in the way that they go around the map. And you can see Moners is not having any of that. You could just tell that that's a strong team. And it reminds me of the interview that we had with Blue a couple weeks back where he was talking about teams are mentally scared to face off, and you see that right now, and that gives confidence to Sentinels. They are ready to push. They left their spot in search of teams still taking their time to loot, and it looks like they found him. Ash is going to be going in.
Wow, and that tether, it almost hits. I don't know if you saw that. It floated right above Dimmy, and they had the defensive bombardment as well. That's most likely coming, let's see, from Blue, but Synox, if he does have the phase breach, and he doesn't have it now, but if he had it, I'm sure they would have used it to go ahead and try to push onto Moners, who are continuing to fall back. This is going to be tough, though, because this is a line of sight that 3 players from Sentinels do not want to have. Again, a long-range tether. Can it find Dimi up top? It is not going to hit, but it's certainly making things difficult and giving Sentinels a chance to keep pursuing. This is going to end one way or the other. It feels like Sentinels do not want to let Moners stay alive.
They are not giving up here, and keep in mind they have the skirmish squad, right? You're going to be able to hit scans continuously with Bloodhound. Once you get that information, you're going to continue to push forward. And it's an immediate bubble. They are not playing around.
This ain't no joke. I would be scared. Sentinels. Oh, they're going out for blood. They know the Valk went up high. And will she come down? That's the question. Synox, rare miss from him on the Peacekeeper. Watch out. Can't handle those. And they are playing edge. They're going to finish off the Valk. One more shot will do it, or maybe the zone will clean it up as well. They've lost Lou, but they know they have to finish with 1 bullet in the air. They will. Lou will get revived here really quickly behind cover. Sentinels take out Moners. They saw their prey, and they would not give up until they had something for dinner.
Flex on them, Sentinels. That is just straight up aggression, in your face, bullying, non-stop, just pushing and pushing. No matter if it was a 2 versus 3, they still made it a 2 versus 2. Even when you have to clamber up, you're at a huge disadvantage. They still clambered up. I mean, just the confidence is oozing all over the Sentinels team. Very well done, and you can see why they are one of, if not the scariest teams to fight right now. And what better time, Rain Day, as we are in the 11th day of the Pro League, the final day, getting ready for the playoffs next month.
No better time. Absolutely not. And then you go into the holiday season, you relax a little bit, you know you're on form, and you just do more of what works. And you've got time using the Ash, which I think is going to be a big part of our playoffs. I think people are going to have time to boot camp with the Ash. I think they're going to trust it. I think G2 has already given people, if they didn't have an idea of that it could work, they already do now. We're seeing teams like Sentinels, the top teams in these groups are using it, and it works. And it creates this whole new rhythm and feeling that, yes, the more traditional Gibraltar, even the Caustic Valk lineups that we've seen, or even the Wraith Gibraltar Valk lineups that we've seen, are having trouble dealing with in the same way. That instant aggression, that double potential mobility. You have the phase breach, you have the skyward dive. There's a lot that the Ash composition is going to bring to Apex Legends Esports. Mark my words. We've all been talking about it here, but if you continue to see Sentinels having more and more time with it, it's just going to get scarier and scarier.
And we know how important high ground is in Apex and just every FPS in general, or, you know, real life warfare. You have to have that high ground, and that is what is so important about Ash. They're able to go up and get that ultimate to take over high ground. You still have Valkyrie too, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a team like TSM adapt and do exactly what you were talking about, Rende. Yes, Hal is one of the, if not the best Wraith in North America. It's his tried and true. He's completely comfortable, but remember, the phase takes a little bit longer than it used to. It's no longer instant. The portal got a little bit shorter. There's a couple minor changes. The hitbox has changed. So many different things throughout all of the seasons and all of the updates to have balance to Apex. Will Ash be in TSM's future? We'll find out in the playoffs, but I can't wait to see what they do here today to try to bounce back. They have started fairly slow in TSM fashion. Typically, this is when they start to pick things up, but look who is in the wings and look who has a huge armor advantage. If they get any type of info that Reps has a great armor, it does not matter what team this is, Sentinels is going to push.
Oh, and with that Ash, we know it would be a fun one. Talking about Wraith, talking about Ash, talking about Hal. Well, let's listen to what they've got to say as TSM find themselves in between a rock and Sentinels.
We can cruise over here.
They might be like like you said, they might be ratting somewhere.
I don't see anything.
There's a team at the
That could be
top. We
them.
have to
That
just.
could be them. On the
No,
truck.
no, it was not. It was not.
Okay.
We have to go to the staging room, I think.
Alright.
Like, we can't do anything else. There's nowhere else to go.
Should we play this building? Like, just play edge
There was a
there?
team over there. Just come over here and we go.
On the left there.
What'd you say? There's something
There's 3
three?
buildings over here. Like, one of these is probably gonna be open.
Okay, let's go grab it then.
There's a team in that 2-story, but we can play across from them. And look. No, there's 3
No,
teams
fuck
over
that.
here.
Okay, fuck
Okay,
that
yeah,
then.
I see
We go where we want to go. Over here. You guys go across. I'll try to shoot for you.
I'm going.
Popping one cell.
Oh, 24 sniper ammo right there.
Might be ratting in here. We're good. We're good. I'm at 10-1 right now.
Hold our back. Hold that south side.
I'm watching. Everyone's literally just sucking zone. Like, everyone's just sitting on zone and they just Valko. That's all they do. So, late, like, if we just wait, everyone's just gonna Valko and we walk in for free.
Aircraft 2 bats.
The landslide zone. You guys are not gonna fucking move here.
Yeah, I don't know if we can walk over them there.
Do we Valko?
Landslide zone it is. TSM escaping that. Not by a landslide, a little narrowly, or more so. Reps finally on a blue. And trusting that the Valkyrie ultimates will come, and they might just have an easier path than they think if they play the patient game, Tom.
The problem is they have to play that patient game right now. They almost have to play small because they don't want to bully these teams or distract these teams or piss these teams off, quite frankly, and say, hey, why are you shooting us? We know that you're there. We are going to gatekeep you. So they have to, you know, keep it secret, keep it safe over here as we do get a scan on over to zone number 4. That is a landslide zone, but look how open this is. There's only 2 spots for cover in the entire zone. Make that 3, actually, as you can see a couple of those trailers over towards that respawn beacon are going to be in. This is going to be tough.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of people fighting for that. One of the teams, Fun FPS, Flanker, and Nocturnal of Team Liquid. Absolutely, you know they want a piece of the action. So far, so good. A rainbow of colors in the shielding. Nocturnal on the gold. So great for these skirmishes, especially when you're able to poke and re-heal, as you'll get double for your shield cells. A little bit more effective than the traditional. And oh wow, it's big gamers here going up against James Fearless in the squad. Built by gamers, trying to find the answers with the Mastiff. 66 to the dome, they will clean it up. It's Tempest who went down, but they'll pick him back up. And that's Davis Wave out as well. Big time stuff. Built by gamers, they're a team that needs the points here. And so far, they've kind of caught my eye.
They are skirmishing really well, and keep in mind, this is a team that, again, kind of struggled with adapting with the meta. They were playing Octane just a couple of weeks ago when nobody else was playing Octane, and I was wondering, what, they search a pub and get locked in as they went to the bathroom, or what's going on over here? Because we've all had that happen, where someone takes their legend and you get something random. So,
Mirage!
Oh my kill feed.
Oh my, come on.
There's a huge fight happening all over the place. That's going to be Charlotte Phoenix dropping down Sentinels, and that's going to be with a charge rifle and a handful of different weapons. But look at what's going on in Liquid's world. They are getting pushed and a lot of different resources being spent.
And TSM, like you mentioned, seems like they were able to get in there. I don't have eyes on Verholz, but I do have eyes on Complexity. And we know the Wraith portal may just be on the side of Hal to have navigated them to that cart a little bit safer, but they don't have the Caustic, so they won't be able to hold it in the same way that some of these other Caustic teams would be able to do and really force off any would-be intruders. Golden, Slurpee, they're following. SXG looking like they're seriously in trouble here. A couple of good shots from Metro to go, but can he keep it up? He's got to get his teammates alive. And the third party, oh, they smell it. Torrent coming in like a torrent, waving straight through the action and picking up the final kill. That'll be Metro to go out, and Torrent picking up some KP.
Unfortunately, they didn't pick up the kills on the ground. They were more concerned about finishing that off overall. They could have picked up a little bit extra KP, but here's the thing. when you're going for this position, you have to clean this up as fast as possible. You don't have time to dilly-dally. You don't have time to get weak at all because more teams are going to continue to push over there. So while they do miss out on a couple points, I do like the thought process. I think that is definitely the safe play. And at this point, you cannot afford to make any mistakes with just a couple games remaining inside of this regular season of the split here. Getting ready again. If you are just joining us, this is the final day. This is getting ready for the playoffs. The top 20 teams in North America are going to stamp their ticket. The top 32 teams make it into the next split. 8 teams will have to fight through that relegation. Complexity now trying to make their move. They've had one heck of a day. They took down game number 1 over towards Lava City and have been playing phenomenal ever since.
And they've got gold. That's in the magazine for that Sentinel, which we know, if it hits the headshots, can ring a ding-ding. But we also know that they've got the caustic. Will they be aggressive? Will they be assertive? There's 12 squads left. Let's listen in to what Complexity plans to do with 20 seconds before the circle starts to close.
Like further? Can we greed like more space?
Maybe this frog?
Then scoping it out too.
We might be able to.
My purple. Yeah, we might be able to get it off.
We're gonna just drop all presents maybe and fucking hold this shit.
Yeah. We stopped all these countdown teams. They're going right now. Countdown team went now.
Like if we win this fight, we're just good.
Trailer team went too. Good to see what happens to these teams.
Yeah, we could also walk in if all these Valk teams dip. 100%.
There's still going to be a team fighting right there though.
Yeah.
There's going to be a fight to the death there.
All right. We should Valko.
Another team just left.
Gonna hit it.
We should Valko from on me, I think.
Okay. Tell me when.
That team is walking for.
Okay.
Oh fuck. Okay. No, I'm on.
Not yet. Oh.
My bad.
All good.
No, that's good. They walk forward. That's them right there. That's every countdown team that's left, by the way.
We could take this. No, that's not good. We need to play
here and drop on that spot. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So do we not just drop below east?
Like we can. We're gonna have to.
Okay, let's do it. My bad. I'm full. I'm sorry.
We're good here. Yeah. Just laying down
here. We're good here. We're hard safe.
Is the box in?
No, it's not.
Box isn't in. Okay, let's keep going.
On this. Look. Kill this guy.
Kill this guy.
Only one shot.
Yep. We need to push their bot.
Oh, okay.
On me, 54. One.
Oh, that's my fault. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, Albrelelli finds a way. Complexity pushing the liquid, but Reptar gets hit by his own Arc Star. It's a horrible ending to what seemed like a pretty good tail, but TSM on the tail end of the fight maybe start to make their point hurt a little bit more. They see the Gibraltar res and they find the damage. Pal squeaking by. He still has a shield battery, but he's got a grenade and he likes that better. Offense over defense, so the best defense is a good offense. He lives by both mantras. Is that going to hit? It rolls down. They're safe. OXG holding this bunker as best as they can, and it has certainly turned into the namesake because they are defending against an onslaught of bombardments. It's a little complicated here for Hal because he does have his portal available. The thing is you really want that for that next rotation if you really need it. So you're stuck in between, do we go for these kill points? Do we try to third party this, eliminate more teams, try to even take over this truck area? Or do we play it safe and try to play more of a rotation game now? It looks like it's going to be all up to Protectable here. Yeah, there is a respawn over here, but this is not a ranked game, Protectable. I'm not quite sure if he can pull this off. Roller Theory going down, and this is important. They are in the relegation, but Ghost Buff Pathfinder. Something like this would be huge. Malice Mamba with the Mamba mentality. Oh, and he finds the kill there. That could be very, very crucial. Keep an eye on them. Obviously, Buff Pathfinder has been the bane of TSM's existence, and maybe Hal sniffs it out. He says, I remember you up on train carts, and guess what? You're going to remember me too. Takes him down, and that will put an end to it. It's TSM Imperial Hal doing what he does best, finishing off kills and clutching it up in top 5 situations. And that is a top 5. We have CLX landing after the Skyward Dive, Tom. They're trying to find themselves a nice spot, and they found a little corner of heaven. Will it be heaven or will it be hell? It looks like that's still to be determined. I like this play, immediate bubble coming down. They may have to just take the enemy bubble when it's all coming down. And I don't know if Zach Mazer's tossing some batteries out to his teammates or he's just trying to bait them to come in and say, hey guys, want a battery? But there it is, the push coming through onto C9. It looks like they're being hits from both sides. Man, this is perfect for TSM. They should put themselves in a decent top 3, top 2 position if they just hit their shots. And they certainly are doing that. Liquid, though, is still alive. Cloud9. And that is Albrelelli finding a couple of kills. Luxford takes down Albrelelli, and so it's TSM. They are in that top 3. They've found themselves against W, and it is going to be a push. I'm not even sure W has all 3. No, yes, they do. We know how well they have performed. Hal on the rotation, but he doesn't realize he's getting flanked too. Will the high ground be enough? Hal getting shot from above. Oh, no, it's W. Fury Scissors, they have found a way. Phony ain't no phony here. They're going to push reps. Will this be it? W takes it over TSM. What a play from W, their second dub of the day.
And it's game 2, so it just seems like the games that we're casting, their win. Are they going to win game 6 as well? I'm not quite sure. What a game from W. Scissors taking the high ground above Hal, ripping shots onto Verholst, also taking the angle onto Hal. Not easy to beat TSM in a full 3-on-3 to win the game, and they just did it.
Crazy to see W in that situation, and that's what I find so fascinating about them. Not that they don't know how to clutch, but they keep putting themselves in great positions in end games and then clutching, which has been a strength of theirs. We have highlights from the first championships with Fury clutching up that I think it was like Octane at the top, jumps down near train tracks, and he cleans up with a wingman, maybe a 5-team fight. But they're doing it as a team. They're doing it consistently. Second game of the of the tournament today in North America, Tom. I'm really impressed with how W is playing, but it also shows a little bit of a return to form for TSM, finding themselves in second, very close to winning that game.
Especially with the situation and the cards that they were dealt. When we hopped into the listening with them, they were talking about what the steps were. Seemed like they were being gatekept. Hal commanding his team like always. Big win, 14 kills, just lighting up the kill feed there for Phony, Scissors, and Fury. W did come to play today, and what a performance from them. But yes, so like you talked about it, TSM starting to find their form a little bit. This is typical from them. They start off fairly slow, then they start to pick it up. They adjust to how the lobby is going, and that's just a sign of a great captain and great experience going on in Hal. But wow, we are set up for a great game number 5 and 6.
Interesting. Note, Buff Pathfinder, a 12-point game, the third highest total in the lobby. That is huge for a team sitting 33rd, currently in relegation. We've been keeping eyes on that bottom part, the story between them and Estral. It looks like Buff Pathfinder are putting themselves in a position in game 5 and 6 to maybe do what Clean was so close to doing in EMEA and get themselves out of that relegation spot for the next season. But we've also seen SXG. They had 6 kills on the day. We know that things didn't work out for them in Metro to Go, but we know that they were hitting their shots for a while. But back to the stars of the show. Scissors, Phony, Fury, 10 kills? What?
Wow.
Didn't he have 8? Didn't he have 8 that first game, Tom?
I can't remember, but one thing's for sure. If he did have 8, he'd already beat the EMEA top kills, which was 17 from Hardeki, and Hardeki was playing out of his mind. So Phony with the 10 bomb, that is ridiculous.
In a lobby like this, I mean, it's really unheard of. I got to get my eyes checked because I really think he has that many kills, but that just goes to show 2 wins. This isn't happening by accident. These guys are playing lights out. It might be time to shift the attention, the spotlight onto W now, and the lobby starts saying, hey, wait a second. This is not a second thought. This has to be our first thought if we're going to get past this lobby in any kind of form or condition that we want. What a performance, and I think overall, what a setup for Game 5 now, because we're starting to see, yes, the top is adding itself together with more teams being in the mix, but also some of these teams starting to separate themselves. And I asked you that question, Tom. Is it W that maybe answered it? They're the ones kind of taking hold of this group?
You never know, but 2 interesting facts about W is, 1, Phony has 20 kills right now. That's what I'm hearing, Rain Day.
That's
20
insane.
Kills. That is absolutely ridiculous. We could be at a record-breaking pace right now. But also, keep in mind that this is a team, just like Esports Arena, that practices weekly, every single week in the Esports Arena tournaments.
God.
65 points. W is not messing around. I have the pleasure of casting these guys every single week. They put in work. They are constantly improving. And there's a reason why W and Esports Arena are sitting and playing really well at the right time right now. They've adapted to the meta, and it's really showing in the scores right now.
Wow. I cannot say enough. After 4 games to have 65 points, 20 kills on the side of Phony. I mean, this is a beatdown. I mean, it's just a straight beatdown. And North America getting a wake-up call as to what W knows how to do. Let's check out the leaderboard for our other group, I believe is what we're showing you here. And it's G2.
38 points.
With NRG and 100 Thieves. If you needed a comparison on how amazing W is doing, just take a look at the other group. Yeah, 38's the highest. Oh, my goodness.
That is absolutely ridiculous. Just goes to show how strong they really are playing. But also, look at G2 continuing where they left off yesterday, adding pressure, just playing well. We got that interview as well, and that was awesome to go and see how Designful was really stoked about where their team is at.
It's just like in sports, right? You want to be playing your best at the end of the season instead of the beginning. All these teams are really starting to catch fire right now. And you wouldn't expect a team like W to be sitting at that type of point total. That's something that Sentinels, G2 does, Complexity, TSM, et cetera, et cetera. It's W now, a team that's coming basically out of nowhere. And wow, they are very impressive.
It is a statement, to say the least. But like every statement, sometimes you have to print a retraction if it ends up not being true. We'll see if it holds true. There's 2 more games coming up for these other teams to make a case for themselves. But so far, W, hey, if I needed a lawyer, I would be hiring them for sure. Let's go ahead and bring it to a break. We'll be back with Game 5 to see who gets the next W in the tournament.
Well, the warmest of welcomes back, everybody, to the ALGS North American Pro League. And it's double dubs for W. And it's going to be an amazing Game 6 ahead of us as well, Dan. This is it for all of these teams now. The last time they're going to be playing in the regular season before we head into those playoffs. It could not be more of a pressurized situation if we tried to make it anymore.
You're getting ahead of yourself again. It's Game 5, Mark.
Game 5? Oh, my goodness. What is wrong with me today?
Come on.
Do you know what? Dan,
just here. Yeah.
From
go
now on, we need to have a discussion about any time that I put numbers into a sentence because it's starting to get a little bit ridiculous, isn't it? Well, do you know what? I like it when numbers are written down in front of me because it makes things a lot more simple. So I am going to read this out, Dan, and you're going to say, well done, Mark.
Okay.
You've managed to get some numbers correct. W top of the leaderboards at the moment with 65 points. Yes, you heard that right. 65 points. They are looking absolutely supreme today in their way they have been playing Apex Legends. Complexity just behind them. I say just behind them as far as the leaderboards are concerned, but certainly not in points. 36 for them. Cloud9 jumping up a place with 34. Looking across the rest of things at the moment, SXG, one of those bubble teams, struggling a little bit today. Torrent jumping up 3 places, though, down in 9th place. 24 points for them.
Yeah, I would say that W have more or less secured their playoff spot. I can't see them dropping out of the top 2, let alone top 1 here. That's not an easy point total to be chasing, but we do have teams in this lobby who certainly could have those mammoth games and catch up W. So if I'm W, I'm making sure that you stay on top of your game, you keep your consistency, and you at least have some okay games here. Get some just bang average placements if you have to. Make sure you survive. Don't do anything silly now because you have such a mammoth lead. But at the same time, they have been breaking records. The 10 kills that we saw accumulated in that previous by Phony was just the joint top record we've seen in ALGS history. Here in the Pro League, which is just crazy. 10 kills in one game and 20 kills total so far in this week. He is on to really show us what he's made of.
Yeah, and he's got 2 more games to do it. That's 2. That's 2 more games to do even more damage as game number 5 is live. And no surprise, we're starting off with W. And you're quite right. This man on our screen right now has been frying, to say the least. He's been deep frying, to be honest with you. Anybody who's come anywhere near him, he's been putting in such a strong performance. The question is, can they ride that wave of momentum all the way down to launch site where that beacon is giving us that information? We'll find out as we get towards that end game.
So a lot of areas that you'll see played here. Just the north side of launch site, someone will take that building. In launch site, of course, there are a few buildings that can be taken as well. You can also play the outside of launch site, but you do leave yourself somewhat vulnerable to the dome and lava area, so you have to be careful if you are going to play that sneaky. But it can pull towards the open area, closer towards dome. But certainly, I think most people are just going to bank on launch site pulls for sure. I don't think it will pull back up towards Lava Siphon, but stranger things have happened. And certainly, when I said, you know, there's big hitters in this lobby, there are people that can catch up W. Well, there's some big hitters that maybe need to actually put some points on the board. Remember, it's not just they're playing for playoffs. They're not just playing to try and avoid relegation. There's some big prize money available for first place. And with ESA somewhat underperforming, I know they've made the change now, but underperforming in the other group, that first position is up for grabs. And W are not in a place to get first position overall here in this split, whereas Sentinels definitely are. Complexity maybe could have a shout if other teams flop around them, but you've really got to be putting your best foot forward here.
Look how quickly this rotation is being made by W as well. They're left as quickly as possible. They managed to pick up a purple armor. That's more difficult to say than I thought it would be on their way already over here to Lava Siphon. And it looks like they're continuing to move as quick as they physically can. Phony on the Gibby is going to be Air Gibby as he joins his teammates just outside of where we think that zone is going to be moving. TSM got into the top 2 in our last game. A much better performance from them, and it looks like a little bit of a race on at the moment for position as they take to the skies now to try and get as close as they can to launch site.
We've seen TSM, actually I think it was on Friday when we saw them competing. They played this launch site area. They like to hold this building and hold the kind of platform just outside of it to really gatekeep teams. But it looks like they are going to move towards the hillside, which is another area which they have prioritized in previous tournaments.
Well, but Pathfinder are going to pick up a knock here onto Rambo. Although, unfortunately, they don't have the buffed Pathfinder, so to speak, to push on this as quickly as maybe they would have wanted. It's Torrent who are going to be able to get the res off, but can they hold off the push? The answer looks like it will be yes, as they're going to use a couple of frag grenades and also that Nox grenade from Caustic to slow down the push coming in. Rambo needs to pop some meds, though, so it's going to be up to the newly married RKN. Congratulations, by the way. I told him to get on last night onto the game and get some games in after he, got the job done and got the wedding secured and the marriage all confirmed. But he said no, I'll play tomorrow. So I was like, okay, fair enough. I'll give you the day off.
Nice of you to be so supportive, though. Of
I just
want
to see. I just want to see him perform today. Okay, the marriage is second to the Pro League. Okay.
Well, certainly they've not really been performing. They haven't been in the end games, and we know they're capable of it. But Torrent, they've got to do a lot if they want to be able to push themselves to be a top team, I feel, in these North American lobbies. But you know, they have what it takes. At the moment, they're in 16th position, so they're in that playoff range, and I guess that's going to be their target. Secure playoffs and then go from there. So as long as they don't have a disastrous week, then they should be okay.
Crash landing. Or Valkyrie. That's going to be the end of one of the Estro Esports players' game. Yalapenin is the player who does fall, and it's Charlotte Phoenix who are putting the pressure on. Kotogami hit some nice shots there, and they have a great position here in launch site as well. They have the 30-30 to hold off any teams who are going to be trying to rotate in from the lava siphon, from inside of launch site here. They have the ultimate high ground, so to speak, one of the best places to hold. We saw a game won yesterday by Sentinels from the very similar position towards the end game. But for Charlotte Phoenix now, they'll be trying to land some long distance longbow shots, and they're going to be connecting there. 48 more damage for Greek, so one more bullet will give him that blue armor he's looking for. As Knight's going to be actually playing by Big Maud. A little bit of a different approach to things for them. They don't look like they have the beacon information as yet. And maybe that's why they find themselves in this position, just trying to play a little bit further around the edge.
Yeah, I was going to say, with Charlotte Phoenix, their positioning also allows them to consistently hit that beacon and really be able to get a good read on the lobby and how it's going to play out. Well, Absolute Monarchy are trying to get involved in a little skirmish here, and there's some good damage coming out of them, and it is Torrent on the other side of things. It looks like Absolute Monarchy are going to be able to get two, but there is going to be involvement from elsewhere, and Torrent just about survived, but for how long? Rambo's going to have to try and escape with his life, but it looks like that life is not going to last very long.
And who is it? It's Sentinels, who appear out of nowhere to pick up some KP. They are always lurking, Sentinels. It feels like whenever a fight breaks out, Sentinels are within arm's reach of it, regardless of where it is on World's Edge. They just have that knack, that ability to sniff out those third-party opportunities. Monas are going to be in Dome here and maybe just looking to hold off Sentinels, who are on the backside of it, that we can see here. Aiden the Destroyer is just going to singe the feet a little bit on that lava as we hear that audio cue. And Sentinels, for them, job done. That's 2 kills already. And I'll tell you what, if this connects, this could absolutely be massive from Senox. The bubble will go down. But the R301 shots will certainly let that team in front know that he is on his way to cause some problems. And Senox, for me, I'm putting this out there as a claim so far in the Pro League, has been an overall MVP candidate. I've been so impressed with this man, his clutch factor, his ability to win fights, and he's just been leading the line for Sentinels for me. He has had a phenomenal season.
Yeah, rumours say that tether is still flying to this day, and we don't know how far it will be able to reach, but it was certainly going a distance. Yeah, Senox has impressed me, and Sentinels in general, I think, are one of the most terrifying teams that we see in North American Pro League. And if they can find, that extra little push in these last 2 games, then they certainly stake a claim at winning this entire split prior to playoffs and going in #1 seed and getting that $30,000. They haven't necessarily found the sheer success this week that they found in previous weeks, but certainly at least they're up thereabouts, where they could really put some points on the board. There is the brief look at the NA Top 20 just on the right hand side of your screen, so if you can find your favourite team or a team that you maybe support or follow, you can closely try and work out what they may or may not be able to achieve in the overall standings. Sentinels just 1 point behind Esports Arena.
I'll leave that to everyone else to do the maths. 3 hostiles detected by the scan, though. Pathfinder, who were over at Big Maud just a few moments ago, now have relocated to the top of Lava City. Knights are the team who are across from them, and Knights are the team who will have the advantage with the height too. A couple of caustic barrels going down just to solidify this position for the time being. My boy Joey's going to have a little poke over the railings to see if anyone is going to dare to challenge him with that rampage in his hands. It looks like actually there might have been a bit of a retreat on the other side of things, so Knights will be holding this down for some time. They do have the Valkyrie available as well on Gildovino to redeploy when they do need to, but now they might be looking to pick up the KP on the cross. This team's decided to actually just go uphill. Flash damage being done, and Joey Blackout is actually going to pick one up. The question is, will they be able to get into position without taking damage on that cross themselves to confirm that kill, as the bubble did go down? And And it looks like they're going to try and get aggressive on this one. The Skyward Dive's going to come in. Are they going to try and get ahead of this team? It looks like that might be the play.
Try and get ahead of them, land near them, and do a little bit of damage as well, but you could get very much blitzed out of the sky if you're not careful, but it would seem that they've been able to find a little bit of cover to work with. I say a little bit, that is a pretty large rock to work with. And they didn't get shot in the backside. So it's okay for Knights at the moment, who currently are in 4th position in this lobby today. And I mean, outside of W, which is the surprise package, it's then Complexity, C9, Knights, Sentinels, TSM. I mean, those are pretty much the big hitters that we'd be expecting to be at the top of the leaderboards, outside of maybe Team Liquid dropping a little bit lower than expected, not quite up there with the big boys. But that means that all those teams I've just named off are very much in the realms of possibility of getting 2nd place and picking up those 9 points, which would potentially propel them quite high in the overall leaderboards.
Well, TSM have seen the pool that's going slightly away from launch site. Actually, they don't have that information, that 3rd beacon information, but they are in a pretty good position to hold out all these teams who are going to be moving from the north side of World's Edge to where they currently find themselves. The issue for TSM, though, is holding out so many different angles. We've seen all the teams that are in the vicinity at the moment. Howl still only has that white armor to work with as well. Verhulst has the 30-30 repeater to try and get the levels up on that Evo shield. And this is the man of the moment, Phony. He's charging up, he's revving up that Rampage. And Rampage is probably the most applicable word for how he has performed today, because he has just been absolutely decimating everything.
Including doors, it would seem. He says, you know what, I'm blowing them off, you're not allowed to have any extra cover here, and he's still half revved up, so there is a possibility he could look to try and re-engage if anyone is close by. But speaking of engaging, looks like Sentinels fancy a little scrap here, as Bloodhound is going to pop the ult.
Cross trying to retreat to his teammates, and it is going to be Cross who's going to be first actually to engage here, so he's taking a little bit of damage. He gets the armor swap, which is vital, but Xenox has gone down. Cross is going to be joining him, so it's Lou all on his own right now as Pathfinder try and come around the corner to clean things up here. But there's another team in the vicinity. They have to be careful. Sentinels are out, though, as Lou will fall. Pathfinder trying to get this res off before the 3rd party arrives. They have to be quick, though. Manus Mamba's going to pop that Phoenix kit as well. It looks like they might be able to stabilize for now.
I mean, that's massive news for NRG in the other lobby. Every time Sentinels are wiped out, that gives NRG the platform to win this entire thing going into playoffs and taking that #1 seed. I mean, it also gives the likes of G2 a chance if NRG were to flop in the other group, but certainly Sentinels would be a little bit disappointed with that one. Just got caught between too many teams, as Cloud9 also have to use the bubble, this time coming down at the right time from Albrelelli. And now Cloud9 can look to try and assess this situation and see whether they'd like to push up on this if they get any damage with the bombardment.
I think they'd like to be honest with you. They haven't got really much cover to work with. You can see that Naughty's trying to push down to that rock on the right-hand side, but there's numerous teams which are to their north. You can take some shots, so Cloud9 got an interesting decision to make. They have Valkyrie available if they want to try a redeploy, but it might be a little bit too early for that with 17 squads still remaining. Very unlikely you're going to be able to land without taking damage or land without finding somewhere that doesn't have a team already in the vicinity. Complexity you can see right at the top right-hand corner of your screen. They're making a little rotation from the Lava City side of the map as well. Cloud9 have managed to stabilize for now. But what is the next move for them in 1 minute 30? That's the question that needs to be answered.
Oh, well, W, after their success, are actually under a little bit of fire here. Phony deciding to leave Fury and just hope to try and rat out and get maybe some extra placement points. So the man who equaled the record for most kills in a single game now is going to have to try and solo survive as a Gibraltar, which is always slightly difficult. First aim is to get to the top 15. 16th at the moment. Get to that top 15, that is 1 extra placement point at the very least. I said that, you know, for W, they've got to play it safe. They don't want to throw anything away. They don't want to allow other teams to catch them up. But they do have a significant lead at the #1 spot. So just a couple of points even here in match 5 would do them a world of good.
If anyone can do it, it's going to be Phony, even on Gibraltar. This is rap mode on legendary difficulty, I think is the best way to put it. But for now, he's managed to find somewhere to play. He's found a staircase which he's going to creep under, a little bit like Harry Potter. As W now only have that solo player alive, and survival is the name of the game. C9 involved in a battle once again. You can see that in the top left-hand side of your screen. Pathfinder still holding them out for now, as we see in the kill feed. BBG, Wicked is going to pick up a knock onto Depressley with 16 squads remaining and 20 seconds until that zone starts to close. It's going to be interesting to see how many teams are actually left over when that zone closes. As now we see BBG once again, built by gamers, trying to get some damage done.
I was going to say, it would be interesting to see anything other than just phoning waiting under a bridge, to be honest. But we got a good view of his rat position. Complexity now down to 2. Reptar is the first to fall, and Shiny and Monsoon are going to have to try and set up and save Reptar. But is it going to be a little bit too late? Are there too many teams within the vicinity? But Monsoon will shred, but it's not enough. Roller Theory on the other side, get the knocks, but at what cost?
It was TSM involved with it as well. You can see in the kill feed, Imperial Howl knocking down a Mars. I saw a knock coming in from Verholst as well. Hambino's managed to get a Kraber in his hands, and he's knocked Voltic now. So TSM starting to warm up a little bit. Second place in that last game with 2 games remaining, including this one. They need some more points on the board. Hal taking this high ground now. Trying to get some shots down with that Rampage. Not really connecting in the way that he would want, but as we move back to the action that's happening on the broken dome, the mini dome just to the side of the dome POI, you can see how many teams are trying to call each other neighbors, and at the moment there's not enough room at the inn for them.
Now with Complexity eliminated, with Sentinels eliminated, this is a great chance for TSM to try and gain some traction and really push themselves ahead of some very close competitors in what is a very tightly contested group, aside from W, who have that significant lead that I was talking about. It's a 29-point lead, so they really will be looking down at the rest of the lobby, at least for this match, but maybe we can see one of the teams play catch-up ever so slightly, as Built by Gamers still holding down this position at the back of Circle. Arguably one of the better positions now that we've seen that Circle very heavily transition their way.
Hal's looking for a third-party opportunity here. You can see 2 teams are trying to cross uphill. It's very difficult to do. We've talked about how difficult the transition this is. And it's going to be OXG who are on the receiving end of the shots coming in from the Rampage. Can they confirm the kills? It looks like they will be able to as Reps comes to join the party. So TSM picking up some more KP. Reps has got to be careful though, as he's going to be caught on the cross. Finds a little bit of coverage with a bit of cooled lava in front of him, just forming that rock formation. But TSM, they've got to work their way back into zone now.
Yeah, that's my worry, and I also think that's why they're trying to pick up some KP where it's available, because they know that they have a difficult little walk into zone here. They might be able to get in at the right time whilst every other team's distracted with each other as the circle closes. Maybe TSM can go unavoided as Cloud9 are skyward diving into the back of launch site now. It looks like they found a little spot, but there are teams very close by, and one of those teams is extremely close by inside launch site, so C9 have to be careful.
Yeah, I like that play from C9 though. Finding somewhere to play away from all of this action is going to give them a little bit of time to stabilize and think about that next rotation. Verholst is picking up a knock in the kill feed as well on McNuggy Buck, something I've always wanted to say. And now, again, we see the POV of Imperial Howl. Already got that red armor. The Rampage is starting to hit a little bit cleaner than it was a few moments ago as well. And it looks like they might have cleared their backs and maybe look to clear the way towards zone.
Good shots again. This Rampage has really been destroying everyone who's trying to traverse the land of World's Edge. But TSM just have to be aware of what's behind them. But they also have to focus on going forward, because this red is not a pleasant one. The zone very much destroys your health total. And it looks like they've been able to get at least just about into the zone here, but have to still focus behind.
Let's jump into a listening with TSM now. They have to force their way into zone as it's closing right in front of our eyes.
Be careful behind! Keep the guy underneath if you can. At the Phoenix, at the bubble Phoenix, I'm 1 HP. They got Gibby ulted on the left. They're on the bridge, staring at us.
Pull up behind us. Did you Gibby ult that?
No, I don't have it.
We're gonna die here if we don't.
We have to go over here. We have to go right. We have to go right. We have to go right.
Okay.
Kill the
Save
knock,
this corner,
please.
kind of.
Thirsting the knock. I'm thirsting the knock. I can't.
Hold.
Holding my knock.
Bro, you need to. I'm going around. Bro, you need to go straight northwest and kill this kid. It's a solo.
Okay, I'm going.
Go straight northwest and kill the kid.
He's one. Got him.
Are you safe?
Yeah, safe.
I'm dropping. You're still alive. I have portal. No.
They're walking up. I didn't see him.
They're gonna get shot at.
Jimmy's one.
No. Let me knock. Going back.
Well, TSM pick up KP, but it's going to be the end of them in game number 5 as CLX move in to do some more damage. Lux with the player who was getting aggressive, and look at all the loot that's now here for Buff Pathfinder as well. It's just a graveyard of Apex Legends outside the mini-dome.
7 kills for the Malice Mamba, so maybe you can try and tie those 10 kills that we saw happen previously in game number 4, but Astral Esports as a 2 trying to do what they can in the bubble, but it looks like it's going to be the end of the road for them. They finished in 5th place. Team Liquid still there or thereabouts. TSM finished in 7th. Cloud9 went down in 6th, but now we're down to just 4 remaining teams.
Liquid holding a nasty little head glitch here, but they've got to move forward, and the rest of the lobby is more than aware of that as well. So they're going to be forced into an engagement. Zone's going to be consistently closing behind them. Do they have a bubble to play with, or is it going to be the zone that does the damage? Nocturnal trying to survive, but he's not going to be able to. Team Liquid out of our final fight. 3 squads now remaining.
CLX on the back foot. If they can shield up, they still have a chance here, but Malice Mamba and the rest of the boys, maybe arguably one of the strongest positions just because of the amount of death boxes around them. If they know which have shields in and which don't, then they can certainly prioritize certain ones to ensure that they can always have something to fight with. I mean, Malice Mamba has 7 kills and 1 assist. You have to imagine there's probably some kills elsewhere for his team as well. This could be a huge game for Buff Pathfinder.
It really could, and CLX are trying to move up, trying to get some loot as well. And I noticed there were 7 kills there, like you say, for Malice Mamba. And we were talking about phonies, 10 kills in that last game, and maybe, just maybe, he's on path to break that record. Well, CLX, as everything is just slowed down for now, I'm trying to find a little angle to play from. Buff Pathfinder do have this nice head glitch on that edge of that broken shell.
Backpack here, level 4.
Gold backpack going to be dropped off to Gibraltar, which is going to give them the ability to res if they do need to as well. Inside with that extra health, that could be a difference maker in these last moments in this game, but it's a little bit too quiet here, Dan. It's almost as if there's going to be a jump scare happening for one of these teams at any moment.
And actually, Charlotte Phoenix, it looks like you're going to try and take the height here. They will. And now they're in one of the priority positions. They can watch everything unfold below them as long as they can stay a little bit quiet, but it looks like they have been spotted out. But if they can avoid any sort of focus, the other 2 teams down on the floor are going to have to fight one another before they engage.
Zone closing. The final zone of game number 5. Buff Pathfinder playing the backside. CLT up on that top as well. And Charlotte Phoenix just trying to wait for the opportunity, maybe for a few shots to come in, waiting for the knocks to come in as well before they decide to swoop down off of the top rope. Pathfinder just trying to walk up once more. The defensive bombardment is going to be doing a huge amount of damage here for Buff Pathfinder. Are they able to force the team off height though? They're just trying to wait. They're trying to be the last to engage. CLX are taking this time though to pop those meds. And that means that they're going to be able to fight in a straight 3v3 maybe here.
Yeah, it's still Charlotte Phoenix are on top, but eventually they're going to be forced off. But it looks like it should be in a position where both teams have to fight before they arrive into the battle here.
Waiting for that opportunity to fight. The bubble has gone down. Charlotte Phoenix now just trying to bide their time till the last second. The bubble goes down from them as well. Still no knocks as everyone is just staring at each other. Charlotte Phoenix haven't had the chance to heal. Finally, the battle starts to break out now. 1 knock will go down. Green is left about 10 HP. They will be eliminated. And Buff Pathfinder continue their storm towards victory. They will be the champions of game number 5. And that was a monster game coming in from them.
How many kills did Malice Mamba get? That's what I want to know. Was it close to the 10? I wonder, I wonder whether the 2 teams were just in agreement of how annoying it was that Charlotte Phoenix were there above them, trying to force them to fight. They said, you know what? We're not going to play your game, Charlotte Phoenix. You come and join us before we start any fight. They were so close, just an eggshell separating them at times, and they weren't engaging. They didn't want to be the first team to get involved because they knew it could be so detrimental, and, it could be a significant amount of point difference between 3rd and 2nd. Those 2 extra points could be a huge difference maker when it comes to getting to playoffs.
It certainly could. We're going to have to see how the points do total up as well, because like you mentioned, Malice Mamba, we had our eyes on him. 7 kills going into that final 3-team scope. skirmish, but wow, look at that. 12 points plus the 14 kills for Buff Pathfinder gives them a 26-point game. That is huge. And CLX as well, they weren't too shabby either. They got 10 kills in the lobby. Those two teams were farming.
Buff Pathfinder as well, 33rd coming into it today in that relegation zone, trying to put themselves within a chance of surviving, not being in the relegation. I think maybe it's slightly out of the realms of their chances to be able to get into those playoff positions, considering how well W have been doing, but it's still possible if they have another game like this. If they can get another massive 26, then who knows? Maybe we might see Buff Pathfinder in the playoffs. But yeah, certainly a great performance from Charlotte Phoenix. I think they'll probably feel a little bit hard done by not to come away with a victory after playing that high ground for so long. The Ashe ultimate coming into perfect effect there, but unfortunately the other two teams just weren't playing ball.
Yeah, and Sentinels with another chance, another game slipping through their fingers, out in 18th in our game number 5. And you were talking about what's going on in the other lobby with Esports Arena not having the greatest of days. It would have opened the door, and it has opened the door for Sentinels, but they're not taking that chance as it stands. But it was 9 kills for Malice Mamba, 1 short of matching what Phony did in that last game. But I mean, 3k damage. I mean, he was just shooting everything. Anyone that was in that lobby towards the end game, they would have felt some bullets from Malice Mamba.
It was so difficult for the teams who were arriving late. I mean, you saw the struggles that TSM found when they were just using any sort of rock to hide behind, but they were getting drilled from 3 different directions and unfortunately could never reset. With the Gibraltar going down first again, that was really detrimental to TSM, unfortunately, with reps dying. But I'm really impressed with what Buff Pathfinder just did, especially in that final circle. They had no right to win it when we saw Charlotte Phoenix above them. So I'm very impressed with it, and I'm sure they'll be delighted to give themselves a chance here of surviving, staying in Pro League, and who knows, maybe with another game like that, they could push for playoffs.
I think that might be one of the highest damage games for a team as well that we've seen in quite some time. Every single member of the team putting up a huge amount of stats, and that's certainly going to be interesting for the leaderboards as well. This has been a little bit unpredictable today so far, and we'll actually bring Kate back into the conversation because, Kate, I mean, you've missed out in the last 2 games, not being here, and now you're back. I mean, we've had Phony popping off. We've just had Malice Mamba popping off. Everyone's just decided we're going to pick up all the kills.
You know what? If there's one thing that I have learned over the many tournaments we've seen here, it's to genuinely never count out a team. Now, we have seen some teams be consistent. We have seen some teams pop off. We have seen some teams consistently pop off. And that's all fair and good. But Buff Pathfinder, and boy, Gaskin, I am with you on how hard to say out loud so fast as we take a look at these highlights from matches 4 and 5. Buff Pathfinder came into this at 33. That's 33, gang, of the overall, and yet here they are, taking down a lobby that is, quite frankly, as scary as they come, Gaskin.
It also demonstrates just how deep we go with North America when it comes to talent in these lobbies, that if 33rd can be able to have a game like that, then, you know, it's going to be a shame for any of these teams to be fighting in relegation, because clearly, even in the toughest of lobbies, everyone can still pull off amazing victories, and North America just continues to impress me with the scene and how they play the game and how they continue to develop, adapt, and get better and better. But I love the fact that now Buff Pathfinder have an opportunity to, you know, push themselves, save themselves, and even can think of that glory opportunity of getting to playoffs, which is something that maybe they wouldn't have even been considering coming into this one.
Absolutely, and Onset, as we take a look at these match 5 highlights that really showcase that Wraith Bloodhound Gibby comp, I want to talk comps real quick because at this point we're going into their final match, and I think sometimes we don't talk about team comps in these later matches, understandably so, because there's so many other storylines to talk about. But this is the first time, match 5, that Wraith has been a part of that team comp. Coincidence? Yes, no, maybe so.
I'm not sure if it's a coincidence. I think it's just, at this point, there's such a balance in what legends you want to play. It's kind of more, you know, you're playing the comp that fits your team style. And Malice Mamba, when they have this kind of zone, which is open, but they're one of the only teams that had cover for the majority of it, you have the ability to just kind of walk out and do what you want, because other teams are forced to fight, forced to engage as they try and force their way towards zone. And you can jump into the void, you can set some portals down. It's almost like, you know, a kid in a candy shop as far as Apex Legends is concerned, with nobody looking at you. And when you've got the free shots from height, it just makes the game look a lot easier than it is. So Malice Mamba taking advantage of absolutely everything that Wraith has to offer, and it showed in the kills that he put up towards the end of the game.
100%. I want to real quick ask before we get to those leaderboards. We talk about Wraith all the time. Obviously, some of our teams have been fielding Ash. Oh, you know what? Never mind. We're going to stop back. We're going to go into this. Here we go. And you know what, Gaskin? You talked about W so much, understandably. Take a look. They are still well ahead of everybody, but I think the headliner now is 1, 2, and 3 don't look anything like, I think, what we were expecting coming into this tournament.
No, I mean, Buff Pathfinder were in 33rd. If they finished in second, they would gain 9 points, which, if everything stayed the same around, they would actually move up to 18th place and get a playoff spot. But remember, kind of 19th, 20th, they're still going to gain some points, so it's not guaranteed. If Buff Pathfinder really want to secure playoffs, they still need to be pushing for that first place. They still need a big game like that to take W off the leaderboards. As for W, they were in 19th on 12 points. They'll move up to about 24 points at the moment and potentially even get extra points going into the match point format. That's how big a jump it could be for them. So a very impressive performance from both of these teams, who may have not considered themselves as contenders, as winners, but now going into Game 6, they certainly will be.
Certainly, indeed. And speaking of these groups, we have A versus C here, but our secondary stream over at Nerd Street, they are holding it down. B versus D. Let's take a look at what that has to offer. Ooh. And, well, that's a nice, healthy 9-point lead there on set for 100 Thieves. G2 going down 3 spots, but Furia up 5.
Yeah, 2 teams who played incredibly well yesterday are continuing that form, and that's 100 Thieves and Furia. Both of them inside that top 5. G2 dropping down a couple of places, but it's pretty tight between the top, and we've obviously got to mention NRG as well, continuing to be one of the best teams in the game. A little bit disappointing for Space Station, though. They've kind of seemed to fallen off in the last couple of match days that we've seen, down in 11th place with just 27 points on the board. So looking forward to seeing maybe them step up a little bit. But you look at Esports Arena in 12th. That is something that I think Sentinels will be very disappointed with when we get to the end of the match day. The option, to jump up and maybe be able to steal away a Pro League win going into playoffs has maybe slipped through their fingers, unless they can do something absolutely ridiculous in our final game of the day.
Well, if there's one thing we know, it's that these teams can do something ridiculous. You know what isn't ridiculous? Well, it's our Lenovo Legion ALGS Pro League giveaway. Head on over to Lenovo Legion Twitter. Take 2. Let's talk about entering Lenovo Legion's ALGS Pro League giveaway for a chance to win a free Lenovo Legion game and PC. As you saw on the screen, head over to the twitter.com/Lenovo Legion site, and that is going to be a great place for you to go, because those are awesome, and we'll see what happens. Maybe you could be the proud owner of a free Lenovo Legion game and PC. So there's that for them. But you know what? I mean, Onset, Gaskin, at this point, we are genuinely going into game number 6, which means it is the last time we'll see your sparkling faces on the caster's desk. A huge thank you to both of you throughout our split here today. Gaskin, anything left you want to say before you head out to our break?
If I was you as a viewer, I would keep both streams open. Get the B stream as well, because NRG are in a place to potentially win this entire split going into playoffs, with the fact that Esports Arena are down and out, it would seem. Sentinels also struggling, so NRG are the team to watch over in that stream. But in this stream, it's the underdog story, right? We've got a couple of teams who look to try and break into playoffs. Buff Pathfinder, really excited to see what they have to offer. It's been great to cast, and I very much look forward to casting more Apex in the future.
Yeah, it's been loads of fun. It's been loads of fun. I've almost enjoyed Dan struggling to say Buff Pathfinder as much as I have. Dan enjoying me getting numbers wrong every single opportunity I am presented. But it's been a lot of fun. The games today have been amazing. Do not go anywhere for the Game 6. And as we say, it can change everywhere in the leaderboards. We can have a new champion who's overtaken Esports Arena, and we can have that final 20 teams confirmed after this next game. So make sure you keep your eyes peeled.
Keep your eyes peeled. We'll be right back with game number 6.
Wow. Well, do we have some stories unfolding, and they are about to culminate. It is our final game and our final day of ALGS Pro League action, not just for EMEA, but for North America before we head to the big leagues, the playoffs, where money, glory, and of course, your dedication to this esport is on the line. Right now, you're just trying to get there. It's Rain Day and Tom on the cast, T-Squared. Tell me, what are you thinking, man, going into this final one? Buff Pathfinder in second place. W still holding down first place. A lot of teams making moves here, but this is the ultimate game to make that move.
You have to. It's the final game. This is where it all comes down to, and we're going to have a classic zone over here looking like it's going to pull over towards the fragment side, maybe over towards the no-name area.
Okay.
Torrent is going to love that. Look at that. RKN already over towards that beacon building, which could be a really hot commodity. You're able to get continuous scans over and over again. As you see, Rambo and Urice eventually going to make their way from that overlook area. TSM and Knights also feeling good about this zone. We'll see exactly what the pull is going to be. We've had some kind of weird, unorthodox pulls and bounces, as always, in that round number 3, round number 4. But it's all about Buff Pathfinder right now after that amazing performance. What a game number 5.
3K damage from Alice Mamba. And yes, you can put a lot of that on the charge rifle, but also just the performance in late. These guys finally put a full game together, and that's the difference oftentimes when it comes to winning in a battle royale over the long haul. Who can make that final 5 turn into a win, and a big win at that? Because a lot of people get to those final circles here and there, but Buff Pathfinder have found a way, and it would be one of those days that really shifts its head on its axis if they could do it again, because we almost gave W essentially the leaderboard, and they were in such a good position. But look at this in Ash Ultimate. Right out the gate, Buff Pathfinder, they can't have this happen. They need to maintain second, and a good finish would be important, but they are getting aggressed on. This could be a fight for their lives, maybe a fight for the playoffs.
Wow, the Moaners are going to push this. They're going to go Ash Ultimate into Beast of the Hunt as well. Scans coming through. Better armors on the side of Moaners. We'll find out if they're going to be able to take this one down.
Oh, and they look like they will. Look at this. They almost have it down, and you can tell this is not looking good. They do! Oh, Buff Pathfinder! You've got to be kidding me! Ronnie finds another one. That's it! That's it! Buff Pathfinder are taken down. What did I just watch? Moaners turn the heat up to 11, and that's our second place team out. Buff Pathfinder have to watch the rest of the game and hope nobody gets past second place, because that is really their hope in maybe making the playoffs.
You really don't expect that, because Moaners had to realize that the third party should have been coming, and that is just such a tough pill to swallow for Buff Pathfinder, trying to fight for their lives and stay in. Now the push is coming in from the opposite side. Moaners taking some damage. It's going to be Aiden going down, and looks like Stomps is going to get answered right back by Ronnie. What a job coming in for Moaners. They are playing so aggressive right now.
Yeah, and this is sometimes what you have to do in the position that, you know, hopefully you find yourself in as Moaners. You are in 39th place overall on the leaderboards, but today haven't had the most impressive day. You've been involved in a bunch of fights, but will this just be biting off more than they could chew? The grenade is going to take down Dimi, but Ronnie and Aiden will handle business. They will take another team down. There is 3 KP already, most likely 6 KP in total to the side of Moaners. What a blazing start. They've taken out 2 teams in this lobby. It's not even been a minute.
That's the dream start, to be honest with you. We'll see if they could pull out a miracle. I mean, what a story that would be, especially because they are trying to duke it out with Buff Pathfinder as well. Amazing, amazing performance, and on the Bangalore nonetheless.
You gotta love the switch up, pulling a little solo queue goats out in the action. Shout outs to Shiv, who really pioneered the Bangalore. In fact, when Gen G was back in Poland, the only little time they had an Apex Legends squad for that organization, which I am happily repped by, they actually were playing the Bangalore as well. It was one of the only times we saw it, and now it's kind of become a Europe thing. So shout outs to Moaners, bringing it back to NA. Anticipating the phase breach there. Wizzy missed a couple shots. Roller Theory as well. They were close, Tom, in that similar relegation story, but they've had some decent points today. It would be important to finish strong, hopefully to get out of that bottom 8. But, you know, there's a chance.
So OP to sit in here for Roller Theory in the beacon building with Crypto. McNuggybutt's going to be able to hit continuous scans over and over again. They're going to be able to tell us exactly where those zones are going. Solve with a knock right there onto Sync, as you can see in the kill feed with the flat line too. That's going to be tough to try to bounce back from. We'll find out
if the rest of the team in Tempest will be able to come back from that. Is Charlotte Phoenix now. They're getting busy underneath the bridge. This is a tough spot to be in. Greeks can go and pop that Beast of the Hunt. Rain Day, you do not want to be stuck under this bridge with all these teams surrounding you.
Charlotte Phoenix knows what they're doing, and they're going to continue to press forward here with 18 seconds, trying to make the most out of it. Sometimes Beast of the Hunt is just as good as a warning signal versus an offensive tool. However, TSM, they are getting not warned. No, they are getting threatened. Literally with a crypto EMP that's taken off some of the shields. They'll get it right back, though, because they are in the building. Kodagami, Greek, and Stink holding underside lip of bridges. They know that Fragment is where they're going to end. How do you feel about these spots to hold here, considering the fact that you've got room to play with, you've got houses behind? It's a little out in the open, but in the same way, sometimes those are the best spots before you really know where the zone is pulling, Tom.
I'm not a fan. I really am not, because, yeah, you can sit here and think that this is a safe spot, but what happens as soon as you lose your bubble, right? Nades are going to start coming in. Other teams are going to start focusing you. You really need a caustic here to kind of set up extra, lines of sight that get blocked for your team, and we'll find out exactly what's going to come out of this one. It looks like potentially a gold helmet and a
that was
very
phenomenal.
Interesting bubble. I mean, bubbling forward to get that loot is risky because of that statement we just talked about. Once you lose your bubble, that is not a good spot to be in, but you can see the value that they really wanted from that one. Meanwhile, W setting up pretty interesting ambush over here. Just big chilling on the bottom of Overlook, trying to wait for a team to push inside the tunnel.
Hey, good news is when you get the helmet, you get your bubble back faster. I mean, that's the benefit of using the bubble for it. So maybe they're thinking, hey, let's just cut our losses here, and we'll get it back in terms of the rebate, the gold helmet rebate for Apex Legends, one of the best for Gibraltar, and those legendary items playing such a huge, vital role that we often don't talk about. But if you're new, you should know that they make a big impact. I love the way that we're kind of following along. Charlotte Phoenix, E8, team we haven't seen much today, sitting outside of relegation, but also outside of the playoffs. Haven't really made much of a statement. But Cloud9, a team that we have been watching religiously here, so impressive on the day. Alberlelli, just a rampage of a player, rampage of a team, rampage of a result. They're in the mix. They're going to Valkyrie ult, Skyward Dive. A little later than we sometimes see, hanging in the back of zone. But this should put them in the clear in terms of a landing, so they shouldn't have to face too much pressure. But yet again, they've still got a ways to go in terms of working their way around that edge of zone to try to make it back towards where it could end in the Fragment side of things.
It's really fun watching the thought process of a team like Cloud9 making their way on over towards the edge, because a lot of teams would go Skyward Dive and just follow directly into the middle of the zone. But they understand that there's certain ways that they need to go and approach this. Maybe they're going to make their way over towards the high ground, etc., etc. And speaking of high ground, Senior Service going to take to the air with another Skyward Dive. I'm not quite sure if this is just to gather information or if Fearless is going for some sort of crazy play. All right, he's going to go gather information, then come back to his team. That's a pretty smart play. I wonder if they have Ultic cells that they could end up using over here, and they're going to lock down the top of this Epicenter hill. This is a pretty tough spot to hold, but again, Caustic really works wonders in these situations. If you see one of your barrels get shot, it's going to pop up on the mini-map, and it's going to disappear. You're going to be able to decide, okay, there's someone coming over towards this area, so toss out as many of those barrels as possible as you see the flying camera and also the map of how many teams are coexisting, not just in No Name, but in Fragment as expected.
Interesting note, some ultimates and some abilities in Apex Legends do find that ability to get back on their cooldown after the ability is used, but also some abilities end in different ways. And so technically the Skyward Dive is over, but as you're falling down, your recharge of your ultimate starts to happen. So you land with about 12-13% of it, and you kind of get back to 20 pretty fast. So you almost get, 1/5 of your ultimate back. It's one of those balancing points that if Valkyrie ever becomes too dominant in the meta, which she's not really, but she is in some ways, could be an interesting tuning point for designers to look towards, maybe mitigating or forcing players to make stronger, sharper, and more effective decisions without having access to Skyward Dives as much as they do, making that countdown start as she lands.
Every single Valkyrie player right now is giving you the Arthur Fist meme, just secretly, Rain Day. They're just shaking their fists
Come on,
at you,
man.
saying,
You
why
have
you
to
gotta
say
bring that
that?
up, Rain Day? We're so OP already. Don't do it to us, man.
They'd be saying it. I mean, the amount of things we heard about Caustic, Barrels, and Watsons. I mean, my defensive characters get all the hate, but a recon character needs to get a couple of conversation pieces, too. We need to talk about some of these recon legends, okay? Crypto, Valk, even Pathfinder, you're not safe. Especially Buff Pathfinder, who found themselves out again, still reeling over that early start from Moners what a different pace it is. Built by gamers and hiding in this building. OXG on the other side of things to Presley Sullivan, Mercy only. Also E8 kind of holding down the other buildings, staring at each other, content to do so, as this is most likely where the zone is going to end. We won't see a lot of action, I think, except Skyward Dives for at least the next minute.
It's going to be a fun zone. Again, a very common zone over here. So many teams are able to hide inside of buildings that it's going to be fairly slow, no doubt about it. I mean, yes, this is good pressure right now from Built by Gamers. It's using a lot of the resources, the bubble, etc. is going to come out. But what they need is another team to pressure this truck.
Right.
Otherwise, this pressure doesn't really mean anything, and you're wasting a lot of your grenades, and you want to try to save those for a little bit later in the game when you have to make your real rotation. As we take a look at what team that is, it's Complexity, and they're just staying alive as long as possible. A little zoom in onto the grenade, and they're A-okay. They're big chilling, and this is one of those potential ending spots too. They're directly in the middle of Fragment, and they're directly in the middle of Overlook. It could bounce either way, or it could end directly where they're at.
Yeah, the trade for the Arc Star and the Gibby Bubble, a couple of shield cells, not necessarily a trade that doesn't favor the Gibby Bubble, because you get that back, and the Arc Star, you got to go find another one. However, it does feel like they are not in the cleanest spot to stay. There's a lot of angles that they're vulnerable, so they don't have a lot of freedom of movement. If someone were to push, you can guarantee that third-party bullets would be raining down from all parts of the map, almost as if an Amber Alert came up, said, hey, shoot the cart on the train tracks. They're out. And everyone would look at the same moment. Sentinels, though, they're approaching this from a little bit of the southern side, making a southwest rotation, and they don't see any hostiles. Crust, Synox, Lou, I mean, 3 standouts, but Synox, he was mentioned by Dan and Mark for just the incredible Ash play, the decision-making, and the fearlessness that he's seen. And speaking of fearless, James Fearless on the backside, getting a couple shots from SXG. Golden trying to finish him off with a missile strike, but also very, very low.
Yeah, Golden took a lot of damage throughout all of that. And remember, you're pushing into a Caustic team, so Metro has to waste all this time trying to shoot the barrels. While he's doing that, he's giving up his position as we get a big scan on where this next zone is going to go. And look at that. It is north of the no-name area. All of those teams are going to have to rotate out of their buildings into an open field. And watch for teams trying to coexist into buildings that are already taken in the next zone. That's going to be super fun to watch how these pro players and pro teams go about their business. But here goes a fight. It's going to be 2 fights, actually, as OXG and Sentinel is going to pop off.
And I love Ash here because, of course, the phase breach is one of the best ways to close distance and really get away from these moments. Skip past teams who are gatekeeping you here. Sentinels know they're going to have to do it, and Synox has the ultimate ready. A couple of shots from the R301 will apply pressure. He's 500 damage onto his name so far, with 17 squads still remaining, and ultimate starting to get used. You can start to smell it in the air. Something's amiss. Teams are about to confront each other as they are going in the same direction, but 25 seconds still remain before this circle starts to move on them. And so they're biding their time. What do you do here? I mean, SXG, they're in a pretty good spot, Tom. I think they can kind of hold this edge, see if they can pick up some KP, but they're also about to run into some of the strongest teams playing edge, like Sentinels, who want their spot.
I think they heal before my anxiety starts to kick in, because you're running around with just like 4 batteries but not hitting a cell. Then your teammates running around without hitting any syringes. Hello, we've seen so many people survive with just a sliver of health. It's always important to walk around when you're full shield. So hopefully that's what their thought process is. But Sentinels, they are hanging out on the Overlook area. This is a very common spot for teams to go and hold. And this is what Sentinels loves to do. They're going to try to see the ping zone over towards that south side, the southwest side. They're going to try to maneuver and keep their back towards the zone and then come in from that high ground area and look down. That is a great play, but there will be a team holding that side that they're trying to take. Eventually that fight will go down.
And Fury with the Loba, it's something we don't mention enough. We've been calling for a North American Loba. It's been so successful. It's won games in EMEA for the last, feels like 6 months. And now it's won 2 games in North America. Shout outs to them, but they're playing low ground. Is James fearless? No, I hope he's fearless now, because he might just get shot. Oh, James, he jumps back up. I don't know if he bit off more than he could chew. Might have been like James and the giant peach here, except the peach is an orange defensive bubble from Gibraltar. Phony finding answers, misses the PK shot, hits that one. He can't hit the next. It's up to Scissors. Can he chop him up? Oh, he gets snipped. Senior service. How do you do? They take him down, even though they were the ones who got ambushed.
What a tough pill to swallow right there. I cannot believe that they give that up. They've been waiting the entire game for that moment, and then all of a sudden it happens, and they get dominated in that team fight. It looked so good, but the problem is the bubbles came in and the nades just were not doing anything. But what a flank by whoever was playing on the Bloodhound there, coming around the corner, hitting the shots. Amazing performance there by Senior Service, taking down one of our hotter teams. Meanwhile, Serial popping off in the kill feed with the Sentinel, and you got to give credit. Senior Service is just doing such a great job. Fearless is fearless. They came down there already week 2, Raindade. They were getting shot at while they had the drop, and they were staggered.
I can't really believe it. You're going to say, wish I had that one back. Strahl Esports. We've talked about them. Castillo, Jalapenen, and Amigo. Doesn't look very good. He's going to pop the Caustic Barrel to provide a little bit of defense and cover so it doesn't get taken away before they can protect their teammate and try to get a revive. But it's TSM who want in. And usually they get in, but Hal is going to bide his time. They have not had that victory that they have so wanted. They know they have played these final circles well. They've made mistakes. They lost out in the top 2 in game 4 to W. They lost out in the top 5. And recently, I believe they were actually in the top maybe 7 in game number 5. Built by Gamers continuing to find kills on this edge.
If Built by Gamers was playing how they are today the entire split, this is a team that could have potentially made the playoffs. And I really think that they have what it takes to continue this game and potentially win one. They are starting to heat up, and again, I felt like they were holding themselves back with the meta. But when you look at TSM's positioning and the experience they have in this zone, it's going to be a tough team to beat. Meanwhile, the big fight, CLX trying to take over this truck. Nocturnal finding some kills onto Charlotte Phoenix as well. Sentinels getting involved. This truck is going to see so many death boxes inside of it.
Sentinels are trying to make a statement in North America. They want the win. Esports Arena started it out. Being on top, Sentinels 1 point behind. That will most certainly change if Sentinels continues. But W as well, holding on to the lead right now. Can they have a pop-off kind of game? Sentinels in the thick of things. Devotion, they've got it turbocharged. That should only lead to one conclusion. OXG back to base. And Sentinels pop off yet again. What a performance by them. And let's listen in to see how they're feeling after that one.
Right arm, right,
I got it. Okay, we need to go back for a shit.
I'm running back right now. I can run back right now.
Yeah. Look above us, Cross, so we don't get beamed. Look above us.
There's a guy looting outside the trailer right now.
Coming. Do we play the backside of the trailer or what? Can we, is there any way we just... Oh, fighting over here!
Look at that!
Yeah, they're super hard fighting.
30 flush. Oh, that's
so good.
What do we play for? Trailer? We have to just in trailer.
We don't have a
wait, scan tunnel.
The building.
Can we wrap? We cannot play trailer, bro. We're gonna get shot from tunnel. Can we wrap
this rock right here? That rock up there is safe.
Yeah. I don't have TP. I don't have TP.
There's in there.
Your mic's cutting out really hard. On the rock, shoot the guy on the rock, he's low.
I'm gonna ult you.
Dude, they're so low, bro.
What are we doing?
They're rezzing in the bubble. Give ult. These guys do not have bubble. They don't have bubble.
Is my cutting out?
Yes.
Yeah, your mic's cutting out really hard. I got Kraber.
Resin. I'm gonna give you out them.
Okay, I do not have TP. Okay.
I got Kraber again.
Where is it?
I got a bat. Look at them.
I'm throwing therms on them. Do we have an ult pixel?
No, we don't. I have to medkit right after. I have to medkit.
Yeah, you're good. And then we're sprinting
right away. The kids in the trailer. We just gotta go. You ready?
Let's go.
1 second on medkit.
I mean, we just have to go.
No, we have to go. We have to.
I might need buff. I'm gonna die here crossing combat.
We can't buff here. We need to just get up. They bob. Bob on me.
Yeah,
we need the kid. We need to just fight them on the other side. Yeah, we need to get them.
We have to go left side.
We have to fight them.
Wait, no, we're chilling. Just AFK.
I knocked one.
On us, dead. I'm peeking with alternator. All dead. We can play this backside. Play the full backside. We're gonna charge off from the roof. I have TP. We TP top trailer maybe late.
Yeah, I think so.
I need soft guns.
Fighting on left.
Well, 2 Kraber shots couldn't stop them. I'm not sure if anything else will. Sentinels playing out of their mind. An absolute clinic. Hal jumping up. Oh, beautiful timing. He takes Team Liquid Fun FBS out of the picture. 8 squads left, but it's about to get down to 5 real soon as Senior Service are going all in here as well.
Again, it's that truck that just sees so much action over here. I love that listening with Sentinels. They have everything planned out. They're going to try to hit this truck a little bit late. Meanwhile, in that kill feed, you can see Hal continuing to bully the Liquid squad with his PK. Senior Service, Davis Wave with the fast armor swap. Now Sentinels starting to push in, looking for some armor swaps of their own. Little do they know, this team has already reset fairly quickly.
Oh, but maybe not enough for Sentinels. There's a flank on the right side, but the alternator! Oh, Sinox! And he has a big one from the Mastiff. That's going to do it. You know they can't come back from that. Lou is popping in and out. The beautiful tag team between the players, getting the health pools maximized. It's just Voltic inside. He might be able to hold. It is a Caustic after all. You know how well Caustics can hold buildings, but there's not enough of a bunker to last the onslaught, the bombardment that is Sentinels. What a play. 4 squads remaining. And it doesn't look like Sentinels want to let anybody out of their cages. Timeout for the rest of the lobby. It is Sentinels daddying this up. They understood the assignment. 3 reds as well. And it's TSM fighting. Will Sentinels be able to climb up after all of this and clean up the rest of this lobby?
And 3 bubbles are down in front of them right there. You can see they still have their bubble as well. Hal, last guy alive, he's going to be taken out. Sentinels, how do you beat this team when they look so good? I would start by taking out Lou, the Gibby player. That's a good start. Fun does not have his bubble. They're using the knockdown shield as cover. They did. Now it's a 2-on-2 situation. Senox continuing to heal, using this rock. Oh, look at the shots landing back and forth. Sentinels may do this.
Oh, Sentinels! I think they just might. Or will Liquid clutch? It's a 1v1. Sinox trying to go at it to finish it off, to put a capstone on Sentinels' dominance, and they'll do it. Sentinels are your champion and the best in Apex.
That is a clinic. How do you stop Sentinels when they have that much momentum? The communication is there. The shots are there. The movement's there. They are just playing on a whole nother level than the rest of these teams. To me, they look like the best team in the world right now. Throw NA out the window. Throw EMEA out the window. Sentinels, woo!
What a play. And what a day for Sentinels. They started out with something to prove, and you saw it on Twitter with NRG. You handle your lobby, we'll handle ours. But that confidence carried over into execution, and the execution not just with Sentinels, but with a new legend as well, with the Ash coming in. We're seeing a couple of similar storylines here and themes. The Ash is working for the teams that dominate these lobbies day in and day out, whether it's G2 or whether it's Sentinels, but we're also seeing the talent of these players finally coming to fruition. Maybe teams that have been in that limelight, but just on the outskirts of it, Tom, like G2, like Sentinels, who have maybe now said, no, we're not on the outskirts anymore. Give us the spotlight. We are the best in the world, and we're going to prove it right now.
They're starting to turn up. I'm just so impressed the way that they were able to win that fight, especially in that 2-on-3 situation against such a good team. That is not a fluke. That is just Sentinels coming through and doing what they do. And I love how we had the interview with Lou last time, how they was talking about every team is scared to fight them. I would be terrified as well. I would know what skins they're using. I would know what trail they're using. I want to know, what they're wearing as well. Like, these guys are absolutely nutty right now, and it's inspiring. If you don't get excited about Apex after watching Sentinels perform like that, I don't know what will. 30 points.
Wow. Biggest game I've seen so far in this tournament. I'm not sure we've had more than 30. That is an 18-kill game, 30 points. Sentinels put an emphatic stamp onto the day, onto the lobby, onto Apex Legends professional scene, that they are here and they will not be supplanted. Someone's going to have to take it from them. I love what I see from Sentinels, and not just that, the adversity that they had to go through to get to that situation. That's what made it most impressive. And you talk about Crust, 8 kills, still utilizing the Bloodhound. It's the way that we're seeing the Ash and the Gibraltar mesh with a recon legend that isn't kind of in the meta right now, that is almost on the way out, with Valkyrie being a replacement. Sentinels staying true, mixing it up to fit their play style, and wow, I mean, it is working.
It really worked so well. I love the listen. We heard the plan going through and how they were going to make their way over towards the truck. They win that fight. They continue to add pressure over towards the other side. Just everything they did in that game was perfect Apex, really. And that goes to the communication, the teamwork, the camaraderie there. 1,800 damage, 8 assists, 8 kills. What a game from Crust. Also, only a couple Bloodhounds in the lobby. It makes things so much more difficult for these other teams when you have such a skilled player like Crust ready to take fights. And if you haven't realized that Wraith may be on her way out and Ash is on her way in, well, watch how Sentinels plays.
I mean, it's get with it or go home. I think there's a lot going on, but better than just us two to talk about it. We can bring in someone who's been observing from the sidelines, ready to break down all the action and help guide us through the rest of this show. It's Kate coming back. I mean, how about them Sentinels?
I'll tell you what, I mentioned it between games 5 and 6 that there is consistency. There are teams that pop off, and then there are those teams that consistently pop off. And Sentinels has the precision of a robotic arm that is out of control. I want to talk real quick as we take a look at these match 6 highlights. Who do you find as more concerning here? Is it Senox with that R301 with that Peacekeeper, or is it Hal on the Rampage? Because, my God, they have taken these weapons, Tom, and just done dirty work in these lobbies.
I'm taking Sentinels all day just because the way that they are approaching the situations, approaching the game, oozing confidence. And you got to understand that there is still a little bit of a learning curve with Volhurst getting into TSM. There's a little bit of growing pains that they're going to go through. The communication, the strategy, et cetera, has a little bit of time to catch up. And when you have that support from your teammates, it's a team game. Apex is a 3-man battle royale. You have to constantly be shoulder to shoulder with your squad. Look how tight Sentinels played throughout all of this. They were talking about AFKing behind a rock too, which I thought was a funny term to go and use, but Crust is extremely weak. They do everything so well. Head glitching, baiting and switching, armor swapping, communicating, taking great angles, strafing. Everything that you need to do in this game, you see it from Sentinels. And then I would not want to go against Senox in that final 1v1. They were just fuming today.
Yes, they were. And Evan, I will say, as we take a look at these leaderboards, I think, Tom, what you said about Valhalla being now on TSM and getting used to that, well, on the Sentinel side, they got used to having Ash. So you got to appreciate all teams involved here. And you also have to appreciate, Evan, W, the underdog throughout our NA groups, A versus C.
Wow. I mean, shout outs to them. They deserve it. They played, I think, the most consistent over the course of these 6 games. Sentinels, obviously, there's no bigger pop-off in that last one, but you take those 30 points away. W's still clearing out this lobby. It's a nice one for TSM to really push up and get involved. I think they'll be happy with that result, especially with this first time with Verholst. But the questions for me, CLX and Buff Pathfinder, both of them in relegations. I think they've done enough to get out of the relegation zone. Barely. We saw that be about 8 points. They would have 7 and 8 respectively. So I'm not sure. But the playoff situation may not really be enough. Buff Pathfinder and them just really trying to make sure they can stay in the league. So still very excited to see how this overall shakes up.
Well, let's take one more step towards that overall and take a look at our secondary stream, which is groups B versus D.
Okay.
Thieves. Well, now everyone is seeing why this team won the previous ALGS season. They are not a joke, and they're starting to, again, play well at the right time. That's what 100 Thieves does, and they are showing why they deserve to be in the playoffs. They were a team that was potentially on the bubble and may not have made it in. That definitely secured their spot.
Wow. You are absolutely right. Well, let's take a look at the season standings here, because we, in fact, have that final leaderboard. And there it is, gents. There is your top 20. And I'm going to say this, Evan, looking down at number 18, number 19, number 20, that is wow. 15s all around, 14 there, too, for Lazarus.
Yeah, and Torrent had a big day today. I think their results actually helped keep them in the conversation here. I mean, Torrent, an org that's VP, a guy who has been a part of Apex Legends history. Wade Pinfold, Dreadnought, who was casting in Poland. Shout outs to him. And this team has had so much fire and so much fun. And it's great to see them kind of participating, even though they'll be on the lower end. Hey, at least you're in. That means anybody can still win. But I'm looking at Sentinels taking the top spot as well. And you could see Buff Pathfinder making it out of relegation, CLX making it out of relegation. So yes, no playoffs this time around, but you got to be happy with what you did today because you gave yourself a second chance come next season.
And I just want to point out that the teams that won today, W and 100 Thieves respectively in both of our groups, were two teams that were not in the playoffs yet. So that just goes to show you how crazy this playoff actually is going to be. Anyone could win this thing, and we just saw it today with two teams, again, outside looking in, coming through with big performances.
100%, 100%. And of course, you know, the reality is that what we said earlier today in EMEA with those teams that have been put towards relegation now, those teams in the red, guess what? They just made those qualifiers for relegations a scary, scary tournament. So understandably so. And Evan, while we take a look at these EMEA top 20 to remind ourselves of where we have been earlier today, this is another scary lobby. I don't mind saying.
Oh, man, Gambit. I mean, talk about how well they've played Guild Esports and 69 IQ specifically as well. Yesterday, they were lights-out players, but Alliance handled their business today. So you talk about momentum. EMEA's got a lot of teams playing well.
They do indeed. And we take a look here at APAC North in their top 20. There was a bit of a shakeup from Flora coming down from number 1 to number 4 today. But guess what? They're still absolutely in it. Obviously down all the way to number 20 with Sengoku Gaming. And then we've got APAC South pulling in their top 20. Reignite at number 1. We are trash. Hilarious name. But guess what? They said, nah. We aren't trash. We're making it to top 20. We'll see you in playoffs.
I like the Lightning Unicorns, too. I think that's a pretty cool name.
Right. Well, Skullcracker, what's up? This works. I'll take it. Well done to our South American teams, because remember, there is a global in our ALGS name, and that is what we like to see, all these teams really showcasing some, not just number 3's fake love, but their real love, and we have some real love for them. Oh, man, this is excellent. Well, you know what? Speaking of excellence, we can't talk about today's NA A versus C without mentioning that one team that has been on the minds and the voices of our casters. We saw them in the final circle, pulling in the dub, and in fact, that is in fact their name. Now with Phony from W, we'll hand it over to Onset for this post-game interview. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, well, remember what I just said? Let's pretend I didn't say that. That was a good practice run. I'm all verklempt because Absolute Monarchy, unfortunately, is my second team that I have picked today that have gone to the final last place in the standings. So that one's on me. It's, you know, at this point, it's the last game. It's the last post show. Here we go. But you know what? We do, before we get to that interview, tease for that, we do actually have to talk about some of the impactful players, some of the teammates who have really shown these squads what they can do. And that means it's time for our Monster MVP segment. Well, you know what? We have so many squad mates, so many teammates to talk about here. But Rainday, I know you've got one with that in mind.
Well, you know, the story for me is always interesting to watch the underdogs. I love to see how people perform under pressure. That's how often some people say where your true character lies, when you are at your bottom. And, you know, people were in relegation today, and Buff Pathfinder had a couple of standouts to me throughout their performances, their win, that really made me say you deserve to have an MVP-like performance. It's not just how you get to the top, it's that you fight. You live to fight another day. And Malice Mamba, boy, oh boy. I mean, this man was aiming out of his mind. He's got the gold R301 in name, but also in aim. And I love the ability for him to kind of be a leader in the IGL format for his squad, to get involved, to have the first step into the battle, but also stay alive. It's a difficult task for somebody who's on that Wraith, and Malice Mamba played it really well. I think he put himself on the map for a lot of Apex Legends pros and fans, and obviously put Buff Pathfinder in a spot to be in year 2, and of course continue season 2, of year 2. So congrats to them, and obviously Malice Mamba, a big MVP today.
Absolutely. Tom, over to you, my friend.
I'm going to have to go with Phony just because of the amount of kills that were going up on the board. And I just would also like to talk about Malice right there at the end of the clip, how he was able to go and clean up the kills on the ground to get extra placement points and to get the extra kill points along the way. But Phony with 20 kills after, I believe, 4 or 5 games is just absolutely unheard of, and you can see why. Spitfire, Alternator, tracking on point, bubble on point, every single little thing that you needed to do. And I can't imagine if they didn't lose that fight down in the tunnel, what would have actually happened for this team, because they were playing out of their mind. And that is what you talked about, Rain Day. When you are pressured, you have to be a diamond. You cannot just fall and crumble underneath that pressure. That's what W did today. What a job from Phony and the rest of the squad.
Two players, definitely the dare to be great scenario that they have come to know and love. Well, let's take a look at our kill leaderboard and see what other players in our lobby that we should be mentioning. And you know what, boy, I think it's safe to say you both picked fantastic choices.
Wow.
But Evan, talk to me a little bit more about the rest of this leaderboard.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't even know. I mean, we knew about Phony, but I did not know Malice Mamba had 14 kills. I'm glad I picked him, Malice Mamba. I felt something, okay? I'm a big Kobe fan, Mamba mentality. But Crust, I mean, the way him, Albert Lilly, Sinox are playing, Imperial Hal always staying relevant. I mean, these are the examples and the signs of, why Sentinels were so successful, why Liquid was so successful, Cloud9 was so successful, and then, of course, why TSM was able to climb up into that third spot. When you have players like that are great players, always perform. No matter what, they get the job done, and that's what we're seeing in that kill leaderboard there.
And those are two underrated players that are now going to have a lot of hype going forward. I'm excited to see if they can continue that hype and perform up to those expectations.
You know what? It's all about momentum sometimes, and these two certainly have it. That has been your Monster MVP segment. Well, earlier on, I may have teased a little early, but that's okay because I was so excited. And equally excited to talk to the man, the myth, the legend, Phony himself from our fabulously incredible team, W. And that means it's time to throw it now over to Mark.
Thank you very much, Kate. And we are here with the man, the myth, the legend, the man who was destroying so many teams today. It is Phony from W. You guys fried today, and you in particular fried today. You had first place overall, which is obviously incredibly impressive. 2 first places and 1 second. What went so right for you guys today in the games that you played?
Honestly, what went right was Fury and I were really motivated to take this set. Scissors woke up feeling like we were going to win today. So we got on an hour earlier. We got our rounds in to practice. And then every game, no matter what happened, we always reset it with, we're going to do our best the next game, no matter what happens. And I think that winning mentality is what really brought us to win at the end of the day.
Awesome. Well, it looks like it flowed over into your gameplay in particular. 20 kills for you overall across the 6 games. And I want to talk about game number 4, because you put up 10 kills in a single game. What went so good for you in that game in particular? Because you were frying.
Honestly, it's the long range with Gibby is what really set it off that game. I got a few picks very early, like 4, I believe. And then once we were rotating in, Fury was really calling the shots on what to pressure and what to look for, and then Scissors made the call to actually push, and it really allowed us to push together and able for me to get the picks that my team brought in total.
Awesome stuff. Now, you were 19th coming into today, so you were kind of looking over your shoulders a little bit and not making the playoffs. But after today's performance, you've ended up in 10th place, so more than secure, right in the middle of the pack ahead of playoffs. What's the plan for all of you guys going into playoffs? What are you going to change up? Are you going to work on anything ahead of the big tournament?
Honestly, if there's any meta changes, we'll work on that. But as for now, we felt very more comfortable with Valkyrie. Just considering our crypto gameplay, it was good. It's just that it calls for very minimal mistakes on everything we do. And that's something that we either had to polish up or just go back to something that we were comfortable with. And I feel that Valkyrie, at the end of the day, allowed us to win this tourney.
Awesome stuff. So comfort, the secret to success today for you guys. Finally, I want to ask if you got any shout outs, because I'm sure that your teammates are waiting for you to shout them out after today's performance.
Yes, I would like to thank God for this opportunity for sure. He allowed me to be here. He has a path for us. And I would also like to thank my family, my friends, my teammates for sure, 100%. We wouldn't be in this position without them. Love Scissors for his IGL and love Fury for his confidence that he's building up. And then, yeah, at the end of the day, I just really like to thank my wife at the very end of this. She supports me in everything I do, and I'm just glad to be here.
Amazing stuff. Well, congratulations on today's performance. You were the standout player in the lobby for me. So enjoy tonight. I'm going to throw it back to Kate now to take us home.
Wow, I got to appreciate his love for his friends, his family, his teammates, his wife, and for Valk. That's an interesting. I appreciate the differentiation there for sure. This is the time where I hope I'm saying this now at the right time, which is we had some predictions at the top of this show. And I'm concerned with my consistency. I'm delighted by the rest of the talents picks because we have shaken up the leaderboards, Evan, the way that only our talent predictions can. So my curiosity for you is, A, what'd you think of what we just heard from Phony? And B, how you feeling at the end of today's predictions game?
Feeling pretty good. Pretty good. I have to say, it's been tough on the bottom. I've had to watch Tom, get a higher score than me for 24 hours in a row. It's been tough. I didn't sleep well last night, honestly. Had to take some melatonin just to shut the eyes for a few hours. But now I really feel like, hey, I called it. So I'm sorry about you, Kate. But I'm off the host desk. I've left that behind. I don't know if I'll ever go back because, it seems like it hasn't really shifted up for you, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's a fair point. And once again, I will say this, Tom, you got to be impressed with my consistency. Picked the last team both times
I think
today.
that's amazing.
Consistent.
You're setting records here, but not only that, I like how you were saying, let's throw off the consistency because yesterday we all predicted Sentinels to win, and it all was just all of us predicting the same team is not a vibe, okay? I like the vibe, Kate. Mix it up, okay? I'm cool with that.
And you know what? I'm going to give this to Absolute Monarchy and say that they had a look that seemed very similar to how Knights came in to yesterday's gameplay. So, GG's all around. It was hard enough for these teams to get into these lobbies, to be a part of these groups. And boy, they have given us some incredible entertainment throughout this entire split number 1. We'll make sure that you keep up with all of us because it may be the end of this split number 1, but don't you worry. We got a split number 2. We got playoffs coming before that. We got a lot of drama and action on the way, which means it's time for you to follow all of our socials because we've got great Final Circle content. We've got player interviews. We got so much stuff that will hold you over until the next time we meet again. That is over at Twitter, Play Apex Esports, at Play Apex Esports on the YouTubes, and twitch.tv/Play Apex. My goodness, it has been a day. It has been a split, and we are so very thankful that you've been along the way with us, with our community, all through the split. And that is all I've got to say. A huge thank you to our cast, to our crew, to our players, and to all of you watching. Until next time, we'll see you later.